short delay between when I start the stream and when it actually appears on screen.
Mm-hmm. I have it up right now.
Okay. All right, and now I just need to take 1 second to get my cardboard live. Good to go.
CBL.
I love them so much.
Yeah, they're great guys. Well, I mean, James is great. Wilson's okay. They were both at the Chinese Invitational this past weekend, as well as Julian Knob from Legacy Premier League fame.
Good people.
Definitely.
I was actually one of the reviewers for his James's book back when I just knew him as Plagued Slivers only from MTG Salvation, back when that was still active.
I knew James because he used to play TES a very long time ago. So did Wilson at one point, actually.
Now, that I did not know. Yeah.
Wilson used to troll the TES thread on MTG The Source.
I think when I first met him, he was already on Miracles.
Okay. Yeah, he top 8'd a GP with Miracles. And before that, he top 8'd a GP Providence in 2012 with Painter.
Yeah, I met him at a hole-in-the-wall shop in Bristol, Tennessee. We affectionately referred to the event as Legacy in Lawn Chairs because it was just supposed to be like a small local IQ, and then like 2 or 3 carloads worth of people came up from Roanoke, and Wilson came in from out of town. And so I think we had like probably close to double the capacity of that shop when we played. It was interesting.
Cool. Up to 4 whole viewers. Nice.
Yeah, this is why I wait a couple of minutes. The first few trickle in.
So I'm normally not a streamer. I don't particularly enjoy it. What's the average stream pull in? For Legacy, at least. I understand like Standard and Modern have other numbers.
So a good stream for me is in, maybe the 100 and 150 range. That's like a very good stream.
Okay.
Otherwise, usually my peak viewership is probably in like 70-ish range most of the time.
Okay.
Usually, like, Twitch partner is 75 average concurrent viewers at a time. And usually most of these months recently I've been sitting at about 70. So, womp womp.
Yep.
I hit it in the summer, and then they took too long to process my application, and so my numbers had fallen by then.
Legacy Premier League.
Oh yeah, that's probably the last time we worked together.
Well, I know that they were also like dumping viewers to you over the summer after it ended on Wednesdays. So.
Oh yeah, they hosted me one time, and then I had a stream with like 250 people, and that pushed me over the line. I was sitting at like 74, and I'm like, hey Anurag, hey Julian, got a question for you.
Yeah.
And then I just like crushed it. All right, so before we begin, how about we look at a couple of spoilers from today for those of you who are in chat already. There were 2 things that people sent me like 75 times today. This is the first one. Lavinia Azorius Renegade. Text is a little small, so I'll go ahead and read it. Each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with converted mana cost greater than the number of lands that player controls. So no Miracle Terminus in the early game, no writ into something like Empty the Warrens. So that's neat. And the other half is, whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. So my thought is probably pretty close to unplayable. Maybe
I think it will
fringe
probably
sideboard
be very
somewhere.
playable in Vintage.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Revised
in
statement.
Vintage, it hoses outcome, but I think the bigger issue is that it's going to be played in the outcome mirror, and really the only way to answer it is Red Elemental Blast. So it's going to be very, very interesting. And I don't know there if it's any better than Comball, but gives you options.
Yeah, so when I evaluated this card earlier, I said I think this card is going to be insane in Vintage, but as far as Legacy goes, it's maybe relegated to a sideboard, but I think a lot of times the other hate bears that you have, like Canonist and Meddling Mage, are going to be better as a whole.
I'd agree. One other thing about new hate creatures, though, is every single time one of them comes out, people feel the need to test it for a few weeks. So, like, you're going to see a couple on Magic Online League 5.0s or maybe even a challenge, but I don't see this card sticking around personally. It's also possible for Storm to beat this card with that still on the table. So,
oh, yeah, 100%. You can get to 4 lands. That's
exactly.
totally reasonable.
It's better against TES than it is against Ant. So Ant only plays 4 Lotus Petals and 4 Lion's Eye Diamonds with 0 copies of Chrome Mox, where TES plays the full 12. So it's slightly better there, but against Ant, they're just going to Past in Flames kill you once they get up to 4 lands, which happens with Ant against blue decks. So like a blue player can play this on turn 2 and be dead on turn 4 with Ant's normal game plan, and the only thing that I did was 4 damage.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that this card goes the distance. And people were saying like, yeah, but can't we play this in like Blue Splash D&T? And to that I say, when is the last time you have seen a Blue Splash D&T list finish in anything outside of a local event?
Yeah.
I'll wait. All right, and there's one other one from today, and that's Tithe Taker.
I think this card is actually playable.
I agree. I'm going to be testing this card.
My only issue with it is the name. It has nothing to do with the card Tithe. I understand it's taking tithes, but it's not exactly anything related with getting lands.
I think it's a tribute to Mana Tithe instead.
Ah, okay. That would make more sense.
So
I've cast actual Tithe in my lifetime.
I've cast actual Mana Tithe in my lifetime. I've been to some dark places. Anyway, so the ability on this is kind of like fine. It's whatever. It's a little annoying. It's actually the afterlife that kind of pushes us over the edge. Because we already have things like Grand Abolisher and other like Thalia effects like Glow Rider and Vryn Wingmare that are probably better than this effect as a whole. But an annoying effect on an aggressive body with a little bit of an extra kicker against decks like Grixis Control, this might be fine.
So I think the bigger issue here is I don't see Grixis Control casting a whole lot of spells on your turn or activating abilities even. So when I see this card, I see it being better against the blue-white style decks, and against those, Tithe Taker isn't really dying; it's getting exiled or put on the bottom. But maybe the afterlife is more important against Grixis Control.
Yeah,
and I don't know. It does do a number on Snapcaster, which is in both decks, so that's fair.
Yeah. The scenarios that I'm thinking of are just like the number of times where like on my turn I've gotten blown out by Culligan's command in some fashion. Just slowing that down is great.
That's fair.
And
it does make a Snapcaster and a K command 7 mana.
Deal.
Unless it's non-creature.
No, it is all spells.
Yeah, 7 mana.
Yeah. So before we start, just the last thing I'll say about this is like this is gonna stack. So if you get multiple of these in play, it adds up quickly. I don't really know that you ever would, but it's worth mentioning. All right.
It's epic.
All right. Good evening, folks. My name's Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site for legacy death and taxes. And with me, I have the guy who runs the site for The Epic Storm, Black Belcher itself, Bryant Cook. Formally, hello, Bryant. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So as one of my donation goals, I frequently do guest streams, and tonight we're going to be playing TES, The Epic Storm. So on this channel, we've played Ant a few times. Bryant, do you just kind of want to give us the rundown? How is this deck different than Ant? You can give us the short version, but okay. I think a lot of people look at this and they see Storm cards, and that's kind of where it stops for them.
So the main difference is that the Epic Storm TES has more red cards in it. So if you see cards like Rite of Flame, or Empty the Warrens, Burning Wish, that signifies TES. Ant, its only red card in the entire deck typically is one copy of Past in Flames, sometimes two. Every once in a while, you'll see a list with a random copy of Empty the Warrens, but it's not that common. Another signifying trait between the two is Chromox. So Ant plays 0, TES plays 3 to 4. You will not see copies of Cabal Ritual. Ant plays 4, TES plays 0 to 1. Some people like 1 in the flex spot. In our flex spot today, we are trying out a second copy of Empty the Warrens. It's something I haven't tried since I won the SCG Open back in May. I wasn't a super huge fan of it then, but I think the format's come back a little bit, so I think it has a lot of potential to be good now.
So is the idea there that against the control decks, you just want to be able to cast a couple of rituals and dump some goblins into play naturally?
Exactly, but also the format's speeding up a lot with prison type decks, and Empty the Warrens has always been very good against those because it requires less resources to go off.
Agreed. All right, so looking at the sideboard, it appears to me that the sideboard is kind of built with a couple of very specific things in mind, the first of which is Burning Wish. So do you want to talk about your targets of choice here?
Well, it's certainly not Chain of Vapor because Burning Wish only gets sorceries. So you'll see Dark Petition, Tendrils, Massacre, Grapeshot, Empty the Warrens, Past in Flames, and Pulverize. Pulverize. So when people look at TES, one thing they notice is that there's a lot of red lands, and that's because you need at least 2 in order to cast Pulverize. So typically you want to play a third mountain just in case one of your mountains gets wastelanded, so you can still cast your Pulverize. Other than that, it's pretty typical Storm cards. Grapeshot, it's my favorite Magic card, but it's also very good. You are an Empty the Warrens based deck, so a lot of the games you get your opponents down fairly low, and it's become a race against a Delver Secrets or two. And Grapeshot often finishes off your opponent, so it does have a real purpose. It also kills cards like Phil's favorite creature, Thalia, Guardian of Thraben.
It feels really bad when your opponent goes Burning Wish and you're like, what are they gonna get? Oh god, Grapeshot, and you take like 5 damage and your board is wiped, and then just a couple of goblins will clean you up later.
Yeah. Very similarly, Massacre. Grapeshot's usually for when they try to not play a Plains or vial out Thalia. Massacre's for when they do or are forced to play a Plains. Massacre provides a very big tempo swing there. And then Dark Petition. That's usually so that you can cast Dark Petition. So you would Burning Wish for Dark Petition for Ad Nauseam, because Ad Nauseam is an instant, which means you can't Burning Wish for it. And then, like our main deck, we have 2 copies of Empty the Warrens. Card's just great. Why wouldn't you play all 4? And then a Singleton Tendrils of Agony. Even with having 4 copies of Empty the Warrens in your main deck, you will win just as many, if not more, games with Singleton Tendrils compared to the 4 empty. It's a common misconception with TES.
Yeah, I think it's really, really easy to get hung up on the goblins and forget that, like, Tendrils does arguably a better job. Like, if you can Tendrils, you Tendrils, because it ends the game now. No room for, Terminus, Supreme Verdict, or even something stupid like an Is It Static Aster to ruin everything.
I think my main deck, now that I'm looking at it, it might be the same exact main deck I ran at the SCG. Shows you that Storm doesn't really change all that much.
Yeah, as far as changes to this deck recently, it's Thoughtseize over Cabal.
Gitaxian Probe.
Yeah, Gitaxian Probe plus Cabal Ritual. And
Cabal Therapy.
Thank you, Cabal Therapy. But otherwise, other than like Dark Petition and the New Hope of Girapur, most of the cards in this are quite old.
Yeah. Hope has only been a recent addition too. Like Storm didn't start playing it with it when Kaladesh came out. It wasn't until after the death rate banning that Hope of Girapur became a thing. There just wasn't a reason to play green anymore, and we started looking at other options like Defense Grid. And I was like, we dismissed this card really quickly when it came out. I'm going to test it again. I played it in a couple leagues, and it was amazing, so I told a couple other TES players to try it. And then before you knew it, some Ant players were trying it, and it's really grown and found a home in Storm decks that don't want to play green, because even Ant decks nowadays are playing green for 1 Xanadu Swarm and 2 Abrupt Decay. So it's taking up those slots, but also you're not forced into playing lands that aren't exactly great, like Bayou or Tropical Island, where they're basically just wastelandable basics.
Yeah, there's a really awkward situation with Ant about like how many colors do you really want to be? How many lands of the splash colors are you really willing to commit? You know, how much of this can we really rely on Lotus Petal for?
They both have their issues. That's not to say TES's mana is perfect. You run 2 basics, but you do play more colors, so it is possible that some games, you might get stuck not having red mana or whatever. Ant's a little bit slower, which is an issue with that deck. So they have their give and their take, and they're both very good decks. I don't want it to seem like one deck's bad and the other's great. They're both fine.
Yeah, if you look at Cyrus's win streak recently in paper events, that's evidence enough that Ant is a solid deck choice right now. He's crushing.
Storm is usually a pretty good choice, despite what people think.
Yeah, I think that if you really know what you're doing, you know how your math works out, you know how to sideboard and approach matchups, Storm is frequently a great choice.
Agreed.
But like many decks, some people don't do enough training before the big day. All right, so other than that, about the only thing we didn't talk about from the sideboard was the bounce spells. Echoing Truth seems great against all of the like Red Prison, Eldrazi sort of shenanigans. So I think that's kind of straightforward.
So yesterday I cut the second copy of Chain of Vapor for the Massacre. I was telling Phil before we went live that I lost to a whole lot of Thalia decks recently without the Massacre, so I slotted it back in. I even toyed today with the idea of playing a main deck Chain of Vapor over the second empty, because you can use the Chain of Vapor to generate Storm with all of your artifact mana, but also post ad nauseum. Let's say you tapped a Chromox pre ad nauseum, and then your ad nauseum reveals 2 Chromoxes. You can play the 2 Chromoxes, tap 1 for a blue, float a color mana on the other, play Chain of Vapor, sack 2 lands, return all 3 Chromoxes to your hand, and now you've generated mana and Storm. So it has a lot of function, but I ultimately decided I think I'd rather have the 4th empty more. I haven't played with 4 bounce spells in a while, but I'm excited to see how it turns out.
All right. So let's get to it. So chat, if you ever have any questions, feel free to throw them in there and we'll do our best to field them as we can. And for those of you who are new to the channel, the Cardboard Live extension on the left-hand side of the screen has the entire deck list. And so if you don't know what any of our cards are, like say Pulverize in the sideboard, you can hover over it to see everything. This was an embarrassing league. Let's get that one out of here.
But you beat Saffron Olive.
I did. He conceded in game 1, I think after I countered his experimental frenzy.
Was he on the Belcher deck?
He was on some sort of like red-white Belcher deck with Enlightened Tutors.
Okay. It's interesting.
Yeah, I did not know what was happening. But that's a beautiful thing about Legacy. A lot of times, if you're playing powerful spells, there is a little bit of wiggle room in what you can do.
Storm has a lot of powerful spells. I feel like this league has been going on for ages. Like, it's been going on for like 6 months, I feel like.
Yeah, it felt like, yeah, I'm with you there.
Maddie. So, Phil, is this hand a keep?
Sorry, I'm getting MTG Goldfish up to do my usual check of, do I know what my opponent is playing ahead of time?
Wow, and we were blessed with having Eddie in the Twitch chat. Eddie, welcome to the stream. Huge fan.
All right, so
like Phil or the Dean, you both play a lot of humans.
So I can Chrome Mox, Imprint, Dark Ritual.
Oh,
or
man,
no, I don't even need
Eddie
to do that.
was Yosai's. I might have said it wrong, but I've always assumed that it was Eddie. He's been playing along with that.
It's Yo Soy Easy, I believe. I am
Okay.
easy. All right, so I can Chrome Mox, pitch, Brainstormer, Dark Ritual, Petal, LED, Infernal Tutor, go. This hand seems phenomenal.
Oh, gotcha. But if you mulligan this hand, you probably just shouldn't play Storm.
All right. Yeah, so we just get to go. All right, so how much mana do I end up making? A lot. So I get 3, 4, 5, down to 3, up to 6, and so I just ad nos, draw my deck, win, target game.
Yeah, you can also play the Chromox for an extra mana. I don't think you countered it unless I missed it.
Oh, okay, so Chromox, pitch the Brainstorm, and go.
That was a really fast
Yeah,
result.
I think our opponent is not going to be a happy camper here.
Uh-oh.
So very important thing about playing Storm Online, you need to hold down the control button when you do this. And do I just crack for black this early on, or do I just like crack to get red?
I would do black. Because I personally wouldn't want to have to crack the pedal. So this way you can just tap the Chromox to cast your Ad Nauseam. And you still get a land drop. Phil, can you teach me how to be this good?
It's apparently not very hard. So I can just kind of like go with Reckless Abandon until I get to 5 life, right? There's no main deck Dark Petition
or anything like that. Yeah, you're safe to always go down to at least 4, and then at 4 you might want to consider not reflipping. This list has 2 4-drops where my normal lists only have 1.
So we have a billion cards. So it looks like I have a Writ, LED, Petal, Chromox. And I do have a discard spell, so I can check and see what my opponent's playing. Although I imagine they'll just concede in response to the discard spell.
I hope not.
I hope not, too. But that's
Honestly,
where I would concede.
I would just go land discard spell as quickly as I could.
Yeah, do I have a natural land? I do have a natural land.
All right, so a win's a win.
All right, so my opponent has finishes with Esper Stoneblade, Grixis Control, Miracles, and Delver. So we are probably playing against a blue deck, although our opponent F6'd that entire turn, which is a little weird if they are playing blue.
I'd agree. So let's assume they are playing blue. And do you think that they're on Miracles or one of the other 2 blue decks that you mentioned?
So the most recent finish is from August with Stoneblade. Before that, it was 2 challenges with Grixis Control.
Okay.
So those are kind of old results. You know, that's 4 months old.
If what Eddie says is true, and if it is Matt Chung, he plays a lot of Miracles as well. So it's tough because Hope of Gyaraper is really good against the blue-white based control decks, but I don't like it against Grixis Control or Delver. So you kind of have to play your odds on which deck you think that they are. If you expect them to be on Grixis Control or Delver, I like bringing in the 3rd copy of Empty.
Okay. Is this a scenario where is it better to hard call and be wrong, or is it better to just like slightly hedge?
If I had to place my bet, I know Matt is a blue-white player. I've never even seen him play Grixis before, so I'd probably just bring in the hopes.
Okay.
And then what do you think that we take out, Phil?
It's my thought that the game might go a touch slower, so we maybe trim a tiny bit of mana.
Okay. So what I normally do is, believe it or not, I've had more success being fast against Miracles than I have slowing down. I feel like with the current way that the Miracles decks are built, you don't have a whole lot of time for that. So I like taking out 1 copy of Chromox, a copy of Ponder, and then a Burning Wish. I think Empty's actually pretty good against the Miracles decks from right now.
Okay. So, like, is it good enough that we want another?
I don't think you want to overcommit, but I think 2's pretty good. It allows you to win through counterbalance, and they normally shave a Terminus or 2. So
all right, well, let's run this, and if we've made a wrong decision in boarding, we'll go from there.
Sand is great.
Oh. I mean, so I don't have any rituals to start off, but I do have 2 strong initial plays, and that's good enough.
I mean, to me, that's fine. If it is a blue deck, I'm not really looking to always mulligan for mana. I think with a hand like this, you should be able to outgrind them. And this is where your opponent just leads on like turn 1, yeah, Bayou. So they are on Turbo Depths, which we did not board properly for.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of bounce spells in the sideboard that will be coming in for the next game. And first worst, I'm always happy to host other Legacy streamers. I try to do it whenever I can. You know, I like to share the viewers. And most of the time, if people are watching Legacy, they love to play more Legacy.
Want to know something awesome? Hope of Gerber blocks the 2020 from Dark Depths.
It sure does. And you know what? We have a clock now. 20 turns. Maybe a few less if you thought seizes. Maybe draw some cards with Sylvan Library.
The Merit Lage. There we go. I have a memory. I can remember things.
Hey, there's that library I was talking about. We're ready to peck them to death.
Not a bad draw.
So how aggressively do I go and just fire off a Brainstorm? Am I anywhere close enough to going off where this is just reasonable to do?
It's a tough call because you could attempt to fix this very clunky hand. Personally, I would wait a turn.
That was my impression as well.
Yeah, I would try to just so that way you can get a perfect Brainstorm next turn, hopefully.
All right, and no reason to cast either one of these 2-drops, right?
Correct. I think Brainstorm's by far the best card in your hand, and your opponent's about to see possibly 4 cards. Or 3 cards, I'm sorry. So them finding a discard spell is pretty likely considering they play 8. It's interesting that it's interesting to me that people are calling these new depths decks different decks. Because like the difference between Turbo Depths and Medium Depths is Spirit Guide to Mox Diamond.
It's the same general strategy.
Yeah.
I consider them to be the same deck. Caracas and Flicker Wisp, still good. All right, is it worth brainstorming here, or do I just try to dodge them hitting
I would
this?
cast Brainstorm.
And generally speaking, are the black-based lands worse to fetch? So I want to be getting Volk since I have more red cards than Ant does.
No, I would probably get C here. The only time you really need to search up 2 red sources is when you're planning to cast Pulverize, and this isn't really a Pulverize matchup. It's pretty good.
So, is the card that I actually want to protect here just a Dark Ritual?
It is. How do you think we stack this, Phil?
Dark Ritual's probably going on top. And then I probably want this land, so I probably just hide an Infernal Tutor so that I can shuffle one away, and then Dark Ritual above it.
I was thinking, here's my thought process. We put Empty in the bottom, Ritual on top, and then we get hemmed. If we lose the land, it's okay. We don't really need it. If we keep it, awesome. If your opponent hits double tutor, that's also fine, because then we can just Infernal Tutor for Ritual. If they hit Burning Wish tutor, that means that we have double Ritual to set up Ad Nauseam. And if they leave a wish, you can get Past in Flames. So, like, I think Empty's just the worst card here.
Okay.
That's my perspective, at least.
Yeah, the Infernal Tutors just feel really redundant right now, but, you know, who knows what's going to happen.
Okay.
All right, so we lost the land. Not the biggest deal in the grand scheme of things.
They probably take Wish here?
I would think so. So On my turn, is my current plan just Infernal Tutor for another Dark Ritual? Yep. And then just, like, the following turn go Rit, empty?
Hopefully Rit Tutor, but we'll see. I think more importantly, you're going to crash them with that Hope of Girapur. Show them who's boss.
The little Thopter that could? What is this? Construct? Yeah, it's a Thopter.
I hate how it's legendary.
Oh my gosh. Does it come up that it gets, like, bounced by Caracas?
It doesn't, but I just want to put 2 in a play sometimes. So something we could have done is sacrifice the Hope so our opponent couldn't play any more discard spells. The issue with that is if you don't draw a mana next turn, you can't cast Ad Nauseam, and I don't want to burn our entire hand to cast Empty. Your opponent's already played 3 discard spells. And here's another.
So, somewhat interestingly, as of right now, they don't yet have any, like, pieces of a combo in play.
Ah, and there was the mana. All right, Hope beats.
Hope beats. Dark Depths.
Oh, Blightsteel Colossus.
Have you ever killed yourself with a bob by revealing something shameful? Because I have.
Maybe a long time ago. There was a period of my life where I used to run 4 Dark Confidant in the main deck.
I played Tin Fins for a little while in paper, just because it's a really fun deck to just take to a local and dick around with for a couple hours. And there was definitely a time period where I was running a playset of Bobs in the sideboard. And when I was first learning how to sideboard with that deck, I did not consider that I had a 15 mana cost creature in my deck. And I flipped it to Bob. That's a mistake you make once.
There's the story of with Greg where his opponent cast, what is it called, Hive Mind, and he cast Ad Nauseam. With Ad Nauseam, you have to at least cast the top card of your deck once.
Uh-oh.
They're going to name Burning Wish.
So I have 1 Infernal Tutor left.
Ooh. Don't you get to draw 2 now?
We do.
Okay.
This isn't the worst. The issue is that our opponent has Dark Depths in hand, stage in play, so I'm just dead on the following turn. No. The Hope can block for a turn, I suppose.
Yeah, you could also just draw your Ad Nauseam.
I don't need to duress now unless I'm worried about being hellbent for the 1 Infernal Tutor that remains.
I mean, I would duress personally. I don't think there's any value in keeping it.
Yeah, so, like, the card that's in their hand is Dark Depths, but
just... Oh, okay. I didn't realize they only had 1. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the only reason to cast it would just be to get it out of our hand.
I would play the 2 Lotus Petals.
Okay.
I don't think there's any reason to hold them. Like, the Storm count is not going to be relevant. Like, we're not going to race Dark Depths at this point. So I don't want to risk them being discarded and not have enough mana to cast Ad Nauseam if we were to draw it.
All right, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Wasteland. Okay. Yeah, I guess it is the medium depths build.
Bob's a hell of a drug. Oh, and Grizzle Brandon, I'm glad you're enjoying the TES content. Usually we're more of like an anti-storm stream. You know, it's more chalices and thalias here than anything else. Aha! We got 2 life out of this deal for not casting the duress.
Boom.
Winning.
All right, so our opponent is now representing lethal. Come on, ad nauseum.
Well, now it's jump block with this guy.
Yep. So next turn, assuming your opponent doesn't play a discard spell, you now have enough mana to ponder or brainstorm into into ad nauseum. Can't speak.
Yeah, a lot of times you think that like blue is the deck that is the best at drawing cards, but there's an odd amount of card advantage in other colors. Like, I played a lot of 4-color Loam recently, and like, man, that deck can get cards when it's having its way. And I can't just sack this, right? It has to be dealt damage.
Yep. Correct. Oddly enough, we would have won the game if we had sacked the Hope that one turn.
Yeah.
All right, we're on a one of 40. Now we're on a 0 of 40.
Yeah, whether or not it was like correct to do that is different from whether or not we would have won the game if we did it.
Yeah.
So now we get to sideboard properly.
That is true.
So I'm just going to take a second to unsideboard and go back to my original configuration so that I can just kind of think about this with a clean slate.
The Burning Wish.
There we go. All right, so go ahead.
You go first. It's your stream.
So my thought is that some number of the bounce spells might need to come in to deal with Merit Lodge. Traditionally, when I've played this card, that's been the case. But at the same time, I kind of also like having a few more copies of Empty the Warrens to just try to poop out some goblins as quickly as possible and just win the game faster than they can. So I feel like I might board too much in this matchup, and I don't even know if I'm supposed to actually Echoing Truth or if that's just like diluting my deck and I should just try to win.
What cards do you not like in this matchup? Let me ask you that.
I don't really know that the discard is good. Like, discarding my opponent's discard, I guess, is fine, but in the discard fight where, like, they've got hymns and stuff to hit harder, I kind of just want to go off.
I agree. And traditionally in Jund mirrors, you always board out your discard, and that's what this is. It's a Jund mirror. Like, your 2 decks just chock full of discard. Instead of drawing other discard spells late game, you want to be drawing action. So you board out the discard spells, you board in your bounce spells.
So are like we going like 7 out, or do we keep some?
I usually leave some. I'll leave Thought Seizes before Duress, but I do bring in all 4. I usually don't bring in the extra empties because sometimes they can race and empty the Warrens. So this is usually how I would board. I mean, we know that our opponent has the Lost Legacy, so you could board in the Tendrils over 1. But I think at that point you now have 4 or 3 forecasting cost cards in your deck, and it
makes the ad nauseum worse.
Yeah.
All right. So question from the chat: Bryant, why shouldn't have sacrificed the Hope after we got the second ritual? We just needed 1 mana to win, right? So I think you answered that before, but do you just want to say that again?
Our opponent had already played 3 discard spells at that point. They play 8 main decks. Sometimes they'll have like 2 more hymns in the board. I usually don't see 4 hymns in the board, so I thought the chances that they found another discard spell were fairly low, but also if we missed on that mana, we weren't going to be able to win the game. We would have likely been unable to get Hellbent, and we just sacked the Hope for no reason, but I guess the Hope didn't really have a whole lot of value, so maybe it was correct.
Okay. So I don't have a land, but that might be okay. So I can Chrome Mox, Imprint, Ponder, Brainstorm, and try to go off from this? Question mark?
So you're mana short, a colored mana short of empty on turn 1. The thing about imprinting the Ponder is that you're like pretty much forced into hitting 2 perfects. Because you need a initial mana source for Ritual and then Burning Wish, and you probably it has to be something like land, petal, LED in order for you to win off a Brainstorm here.
Okay.
Like it actually just has to be the nuts. If you're going for a longer game, the Ponder makes more sense. You could also just go with Petal Brainstorm, because that way you get two options of what to put back. And you can choose if you're going to play a longer game, or maybe you get a different configuration of cards that allows you to win on turn one.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
I think the Petal's a little bit of a stronger play than throwing away a Ponder.
All right. Regardless, we're keeping this. The hand has a lot of potential here.
Baruch, Tithe Taker was discussed at the beginning of the stream.
Short version, we think the card has potential. I will test it. I'm a little skeptical that it'll really end up being like a staple or anything, but it's certainly worth trying. Yeah.
That's fine.
So I put back a Chromox, or maybe two, and fetch them away.
Yep.
Am I in just ponder this turn territory to shuffle, or just like fetch, get, see, ponder?
I would take the latter. I don't generally like burning my cards for like the sake of like a shuffle effect or like those sort of things. Like I just want to maximize my cards at all time, because like you're a resource-based combo deck, so every little bit of an edge you can get, you usually want to take.
So can I go off with a Lotus Petal and then land drop next turn? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 burning. No. So this is just a shuffle?
Correct. Even if you could empty next turn, I'd probably shuffle anyway.
Hello.
LED was good.
Do I just play this out now to protect from discard?
I would. So I think keeping a Ponder like that is super dangerous, because like even if you could empty next turn, your opponent's aggressively looking for 1 mana discard spells, and you don't want to just time walk yourself for 3 turns over a possible turn 2 empty for like 8.
So about Lavinia, yeah, we talked about it a little bit at the beginning. I think that card is going to be good, maybe even great in Vintage, but in Legacy it feels a little weak. It may find a home in the sideboard of some blue-white deck or something, but I don't see it going anywhere in the immediate future.
Come on, Tutor.
All right. We'll wait.
So, hold on. So, do you think that your opponent has a him? Because like it could be very realistic here to just play Chromox and print Ritual.
Oh, I see. And just kind of like ignore the Storm Count. Hope to just top deck a business spell.
Yeah.
No, I like that. And besides, even if they have any, like, literal any discard spell, they take the Dark Ritual and the Chromox does nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, thank you. That was a good catch.
So I mean, it sucks now because I think we played a little too quickly. Our opponent knows that we have Volk in our hand now, so they're not going to play like a Duress or an Inquisition, where we could have held the Pluto Delta, played Volk, and drawn out another discard spell from them.
Yeah, I was thinking about top decking like a Brainstorm where I might want to shuffle that back with fetch land.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't think they're going to hem away 1 card. I could be wrong.
Well, I guess we cast this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like saving it really does anything. Okay. So I can't take them off of the combo pieces, so I'm just going to take them off of the other side of the draw engine. Having 1 Dark Compound is already rough, though.
I agree.
But it is what it is. So the hope is that they draw non-combo land and discard spells while I'm hellbent, and I draw something sweet.
So I would expect your opponent here to play a Hex Mage. LED is actually an okay draw. So what this allows us now is next turn we could possibly draw a Ponder or a Brainstorm and then find a business spell, and then it would allow us to win.
Okay. So again, just always play out these LEDs just because they're so valuable, right?
Correct. Especially against discard matchups. And here's to hoping your opponent's other card they drew wasn't Crop Rotation. And there's Crop Rotation. So we have to draw a live spell next turn. Which means I would fetch no matter what, just for the thinning's sake.
Okay. Note, we understand the math on that. It is super marginal. But when you are on the, like, I need to draw something this exact turn or I'm going to die no matter what, you know, it's time. Badlands for variety, I assume.
Sure. Womp womp.
Womp womp indeed.
Make them do it.
No, I don't mind playing TES.
They did not crop rotate.
There's no condolences necessary. Yeah, I'm very happy they didn't cast a crop rotation. Maybe they think my one card in hand is a bounce spell or something, since, you know, any business spell I would have cast. That presumably means that they're holding the crop rotation for Bojuka Bog to shut off Past in Flames line. Well,
a lot of mana.
We have a lot of mana. I'm going to make a lot of white mana. That's what I'm used to doing. And then I'll concede.
All right. Not a great way to start.
Yep. You know.
Our first game was exactly how we wanted to start. Our second two games, not so much.
Oh, yeah.
Eddie gave us some bad advice from the Twitch chat telling us that it was Matt.
We'll blame this one on Eddie.
I also think that we probably could have won game two if we were playing a little more cautiously. I think it was probably correct to sack the Hope there. We just might have sped by it a little too quickly.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that's a common thing with playing online is you don't always think through your actions enough. Like you kind of just play on autopilot a little bit more. So what would Thalia think of you playing the Epic Storm?
I mean, we've all had our experimental phases, right? We go out and we do some weird things, and then you come back to what you know and love. It's fine.
Most people call that college, Phil.
Arkin, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm certainly not a Sith Lord. Excuse me while I put on my robes.
I mean, the Sith are a little bit cooler. Let's be honest. And if those of you that don't like spoilers should probably not listen to this, but the Solo movie, I thought Maul looked super cheesy and poorly done animation-wise.
I've not... Oh, wait. The Solo movie, that's old at this point, right?
I mean, it's like a year old.
Yeah. I saw Aquaman recently. I got early release tickets to that.
I have not seen it yet. I want to.
It's fine.
I saw in the trailer that it looks like towards the end of the trailer it comes out in the Aquaman costume, like the classic 70s Aquaman costume.
Yes,
that's kind of lame because I think Aquaman, like classic Aquaman, super lame. But
yeah, I am not an Aquaman fan, generally speaking. I just never have felt a great draw towards that hero. The superpower is kind of like, eh. But yeah. I think for the majority of this, I'm going to stay like completely spoiler free, but they do the best job that they can of making Aquaman seem not lame.
Well, Jason Momoa's just a real life badass.
That helped a
So
lot.
I watch a show of his on Netflix called Frontier, where he's living in Canada as a like a fur tracker that like just kills redcoats. It's pretty awesome.
All right.
This is what Legacy is nowadays, winning 3 minutes for a match. While ticket prices plummet and chests go down to 40 something cents.
I think we're gonna be on the upswing now.
Is this just Eddie?
Fingers crossed, at least.
I think this is just Eddie. Or am I wrong?
I thought he was also Yosoi Easy on Moto as well.
This person might be on Grixis then. I feel like this person was a big Grixis Delver player if they weren't Eddie.
Most recent finish is with Ninjas. Prior to that, Standstill.
All right, not Eddie.
All right.
Black Panther was amazing. I don't know, like Golgari, Grave Boys talking.
Yeah, I thought Black Panther was great. So,
unlike our previous hand, I think this is a correct hand to go Chromox Brainstorm, because you only have to hit a single colored mana source and to be able to empty for a bajillion.
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking about like the colored mana situation to myself. All right, so I can Chromox, Imprint Brainstorm, cast Brainstorm, and then like Land or Lotus Petal will get me there.
There's also like weird combinations like double Rite of Flame or like even another. Wait, no, I think it would have to be LED Cantrip. That'll do, Pig.
All right. So the idea is Dark Ritual.
Before you evaluate this hand, would you feel more comfortable casting Duress this turn and then next turn casting Ad Nauseam, or do you just want to jam? It seems like this person plays a lot of blue.
I like the idea of casting the Duress if we can, but that would mean waiting a turn, right?
Correct. If that's the case, I would probably put back the Burning Wish in the Petal and then fetch up Basic Swamp and cast Duress.
Okay.
Double Force.
Hey, it is Ninjas.
I mean, take one of them, right?
Yeah. All right. I'm going to look at my opponent's last deck list to see if they have discard, because that informs my decisions here. So they play 3 Thought Seizes, 4 Force of Wills, 1 Counterspell is the only cards that we care about.
So with a hand like this, a discard spell is going to be effective no matter what they take. So I don't think you really gain anything by playing out Alliance at Diamond.
All right.
I ask myself, like, what do I gain when I'm making most of my actions? And if it's nothing, I'm probably not doing it.
So the good news is that we're going to have a considerable amount of time. My opponent's clocks are both relatively slow.
But they do have that very good Fatal Push.
It is strong, yes. All right, no point in trying to go off and just running it into the force here, right? Just
Correct.
Wait for a discard spell and then try to win.
Yeah, there's 6 more discard spells. You can also like get them by like just tapping 2 mana and casting Burning Wish. They force, and then you empty for 12.
So there's the land that they presumably kept off of their Ponder. Ooh, favorite Switch games so far. So like the obvious one, Super Smash Brothers is just an
Hey,
awesome,
that's great.
awesome party game. Um, I've been spending a lot of time playing Shovel Knight as well. That game is very simple. Good old school Mega Man feel. All right. So it seems to me that I just start casting things, wait for them to force, and play empty, make a bunch of tokens.
So what does their bajillion mana ninja do?
All right. So it's kind of like a weird. All right. It's its own thing. So whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost. So it does some extra damage. Unless they use a cantrip to set it up, it probably only does like 1 or 2 damage. It's when they use a cantrip to set it up and they like ponder, leave a force on top, flip it to Yuriko, you take 5 extra damage, that it
Okay.
starts to be scary.
So we have two options right now, and it's wait to draw a discard spell or another spell, or just go ritual LED empty.
So that would just make 6 goblins. So if my opponent attacks, I can attack for 6 3 times and kill them, but presumably they'd hold some of this stuff back. And then this has 3 toughness, so I'd attack for 6, then 4. Yeah. So I don't actually know that this empty is good enough yet.
The only thing that I'm thinking about the empty is you still have tutor as a backup, so if you draw a discard spell at any point, you can just tutor for like grape shot or like tutor ad nauseum.
Okay. So the card that I want to play first is just the Dark Ritual, right? Because
Correct.
that's the one that needs to resolve.
And if they force it, then that's
great.
fine.
Yeah. And there is a world where my opponent forces because I sat here thinking about this for so long. Yep, Force Pitch Spellseeker, which is the tutor card.
Yep.
All right.
And we'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Now at this point, do I just play out this LED?
No, because like even if they do play a Thoughtseize, they take tutor, and then you're stuck with an empty that doesn't do anything.
Okay, that's fair. Golgari Graveboy, yes, I would play Vintage for a donation. I will say that most of my Vintage experience is with various Thalia and Eldrazi decks of different natures.
So is this where the ninja comes in?
Yeah. So it's a ninja. It'll deal us 1 initial damage, and they'll kind of get to draw a card and deal us some damage. Swamp. Deal. Yeah, so I've played more shops and like Eldrazi and 5-color humans,
Mana source, come on,
and things of that nature in Vintage than anything else.
That'll
Hello.
do.
Yeah, I'd totally play some Vintage Dredge. That deck's busted.
So we know one of the cards in our opponent's hand, or 2. We know that they have Baleful Strix and no Fatal Push.
Yeah, and they played out this swamp. So 3 cards
the
remain.
other 3, if they found a third Force of Will, we lose. Probability is they don't have another force.
Very small.
They played 1 Ponder, and that's it. So I'd imagine that we're winning right now.
And this is just an ad nause situation, right?
Correct.
It's pretty much always an ad nause situation with this deck, correct? Like that's the primary way of winning. I have control held down.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah. Well, that's rough.
Oh no, Phil.
That's frustrating.
No. Phil. Oh. Yeah.
All right. I swear.
This is what happens
that was
when
pushed
you cast
down.
too many basic planes. On the bright side, we can still cast or draw another Infernal Tutor and win.
Yeah. Between games, I am going to confirm that my control key is working.
I mean, it can block, right?
Yeah.
Like, might as well. Stops them from drawing more cards.
Sure.
I mean, we do force them to cast 2 of their Fatal Pushes.
I don't really know why that's still in the deck versus test, but okay.
It's game 1, right?
Oh, okay. Sure. Sorry, I've lost focus. I'm trying to do some other things in the background.
Like not holding your shift key?
Control.
Or control key, whatever. Getting Savage Ninja.
Well, with a ritual that gets there.
Yeah, but they're probably going to wasteland us, but we'll see. So they're going to minus or plus their Liliana, Fatal Push 1, swinging for 4. We'll be at 7. Hope that they don't wasteland us, and we draw a Dark Ritual.
Yeah, because now with the Ad Nauseam not in the deck, just ripping Infernal Tutor to go get it doesn't work anymore.
Correct. It's a rough life. Blazing Pandora, that seems like a bad excuse.
All right.
Yep.
That's tilting, but it is what it is. All right, so I feel like my opponent probably sideboards out most of their removal, making these fine.
So I don't think that they're taking out Baleful Strix.
Oh, that is still a problem card. Yeah, you're right.
So how I board against the black base control decks generally is I just like bringing in an extra empty over a wish. I usually don't have all 3, but I also normally don't play the second in the main deck, so I think I'd be willing to try this.
Okay.
What it does, it allows you to beat multiple forces and even multiple Flusterstorms.
Yeah, and then we still have 1 left in the sideboard. You always want to leave 1 there for Burning Wish purposes. Yeah, I mean, I think we're fine to deal with what our opponent is bringing to the table. At least in game 1, they didn't have a lot of interaction. Looks like in their sideboard, they'll have Flusterstorm, Surgical, Thoughtseize, Counterspell, and a Plague Mare.
Ooh, the Plague Mare.
Been on the wrong side of that a couple of times.
All right, so we're going to win games 2 and 3 for gifting them game 1. How does that sound, Phil?
That sounds good to me.
This hand's a little bit weak, but I think it's probably a keep.
Oh, so the key must be held down before I start clicking on the spell?
Correct.
Okay. So I might have started to hold it down while casting it. I see. Yeah. I'll I'll keep this, but it doesn't. It needs some mana.
Yes. So your best draw next turn is a Lion's Eye Diamond. Anything outside of that is a more than turn 2 kill.
All right. Seems like to stick with the go fast plan. We just take their Thoughtseize.
Correct.
And hope to kill them before their turn 3.
Yeah, with their hand currently set up is it actually doesn't do anything. And the only way that surgical matters is if you, for some reason, cast Infernal Tutor, like revealing another card.
Ponder.
I mean, ideally, we could also draw an empty right now, and we could empty for 6, which is, not bad against their land-heavy hand.
All right, no shuffle with the Ponder.
Okay.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah. I would play your land first. There's, very little reason to not play it.
That's fair.
They probably don't have days, but there's just no reason to take the risk.
All right, so their draw was Baleful Strix. I think I like just taking the Snapcaster Mage to prevent them from Thoughtseizing.
I agree.
Or Surgical twice.
So with the way that this game has progressed is it's not looking like an ad nauseum game because we've already dealt ourselves 5 damage and we have 3 empties in our deck. And we're about to get punished. Real hard.
Yep, so now this Surgical will take our Infernal Tutors.
Yeah, I don't think we played wrong for what it's worth. I think we did everything as we should have. It's unfortunate that our opponent had a discard spell on top. That said, we still have 1 ad nauseum, 3 empties, and 3 copies of Burning Wish.
Yeah, our opponent also has no pressure. So even if they Baleful Strix next turn, that's a 1/1. We can draw out of that potentially. Yeah, an empty off the top for 8 goblins is probably better than what they have going on.
Yeah. Ninja'd.
Yuriko's sweet. See, this is what I'm talking about. Usually you have to set those up for those to happen, but it's strong. So now our opponent can replay the Strix, and them doing so probably means that they have another blue card for that Force of Will.
It's a rough life.
It is. Especially if my opponent can brainstorm and put that Force of Will back on top. Oh, it's okay. It's just Snapcaster Mage for another discard spell. My tears.
I don't know if it really matters.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially just 2 goblins if we top deck empty.
Yeah.
We're probably just dead on their next turn, though, unless they hit a land off of Yuriko.
I imagine that creature has to connect, correct?
Yeah.
So if we draw an empty right now, we can actually cast it for 8. Not an empty. Okay.
All right.
So between the 2 rounds, I think what it came down to, we're not guaranteed to win another game this match, but we probably would have won game 1 if we were holding our shift key or command key. In round 1, we would have won if we were paying a little bit more attention, just a tiny bit, and considered sacking the hope instead of just passing. So these were both winnable.
Yep. I mean, the loss here is just moto things. Like this sort of thing happens sometimes. But yeah, round one, we should have at least paused to talk that through. At the very least.
All right, let's win 3 in a row and get you your 12 ticks back.
It's even not that big of a deal if we don't. This was.
Yeah, but why not do it, Phil?
I mean, it's the plan. If we go wrong, we go wrong. But the plan is go 3-0.
Yeah, so going back to Blazing Pandora's comment, this isn't like an attack on them, but I noticed this with locals a lot is they'll say, I play this deck, and I ask them why, because like another deck might be better. They go, well, that deck's too hard. If that's the case, why not elevate yourself to play the better deck and learn the skills in order to do something that will give you a better success in the long run, rather than doing something that's worse because you're more comfortable with it? Like, you can always improve yourself to meet goals or achievements rather than settling for something that might not be as great.
Yeah, I think it's really important to set reasonable goals in Magic, and I think that's something that people have a lot of trouble doing, because I think a lot of people, either set the sights too high, and it's like, all right, well, I want to top 8 a GP, or they don't push themselves enough. One of the things I tell new D&T players is they ask me, like, well, how do I get better at playing D&T? And I tell them, stop playing D&T and play another deck every week if you can. Like, learn the other sides of matchups. Learn more about the format. Push yourself. That's how you get better. Format knowledge and rules knowledge matters a lot in Legacy.
I agree. So you'll notice on theepicstorm.com that we publish a lot of articles involving other decks. So like we have the matchup mulligan, we have TES matchup battles with Alex Poling, and then Anthony Laverde has Through the Looking Glass. All three of these series give you insights on other decks and like how you battle specific decks from both sides of the table.
Looking at this hand, it appears to me that this is finally a mulligan. Is
Agreed.
that correct? Yeah.
Yep. This hand is great.
So all I need is 1 mana in order to add Nos. I have a lot of cards in my deck that make mana.
Is this one of them?
It is. Boom. I even get to duress on turn 1. I mean, yeah, feel free to heckle away.
Matt, you can heckle me all you want. That head has won me a lot of dollars this year. Lands.
It appears that my opponent's deck is not going to be good in game 1 against this deck.
Very true.
So crop rotation for Bojuka Bog is something that could potentially mess me up, so I'm just going to take the crop rot.
More importantly, I think crop rotation for Ghost Quarter is what messes you up here. I mean, completely serious.
Yeah, I know. I don't know that our opponent would be tuned in enough to think about that if I just, like, topped.
Nice, Matt. So something I've noticed recently is I've seen a couple different lands lists playing main deck engineered explosives. Looking at the motor results from the challenge yesterday, Schultz Cubed had 2 in their deck, and like maybe a week ago, I saw somebody else that wasn't him running engineered explosives. So it certainly seems to be picking up. Something I like to do in this matchup is just sit on copies of Chrome Mox in play because they generally can't interact with them.
Oh, is there an Academy Ruins in there to recycle it as well?
Not that I've seen. I think it's literally just for gamble.
Well, I have mana. Boy, do I have mana. Well, I guess I can just keep whacking the yes button a whole bunch more. So I guess I do need to be cognizant of punishing fire on the other side of the battlefield. All right.
If you weren't going to win, yes.
But I think that
Phil,
was
have you
a
ever watched
very easy
Arrested
win.
Development?
I watched a little bit while it was airing on TV. I've never sat through and like watched the entire thing in order.
So a running joke is how Tobias doesn't understand phrasing. And I feel like there's a little bit of that with whacking the yes button right there. Just throwing that out there.
All right. So I've whacked the yes button enough to get us a easy win.
Game 1 win.
And now I have to think about what I want to do. So I'm guessing that lands brings in some sort of like artifact-based hate for you. Is that correct?
It is usually sphere resistance, and every once in a while you'll see like a random Chalice of the Void.
So in anticipation of that, I suppose I probably want some number of chains and echoing truths.
Correct.
So how much is too much here?
Bring in all of it.
Okay.
Usually, like every matchup where you want a bounce spell, pretty much bringing in all of them. So the bigger question is, what do you not want here, Phil?
On the draw, the discard seems kind of weak. I guess like it's a check to see whether or not they have like crop rotation for Bojuka Bog.
Bojuka Bog usually doesn't matter against us. Just a heads up.
All right, sorry, I'm still in like ant mode where I'm used to going off with my graveyard. All right, got to get out of that.
All right, so we have a minute, so I'll help you out a little bit. Empty sucks. They have Tabernacle. They definitely leave it in. So you board up the empties, and then 2 discard spells is fine. Probably the Thought Seizes because they don't have any creatures. They might have like a Tireless Tracker, but you're not discarding Tireless Tracker.
Yeah,
anyway.
that's not the sort of thing that I'm worried about. Yeah, I suppose with like reliable ways to find Tabernacle empty is just not where I want to be.
So Matt, on the draw, discard spells are a little bit worse, and you'd rather have Ponders to help you dig for your Echoing Truths?
This is slightly awkward, right? Because I don't have black as an initial mana source, but with one more mana source, I just add Naws.
That is true. Your opponent has kept their hand, which probably means that they have a turn 1 interaction, if not turn 2. That said, I don't mulligans hands like this. Like, I'd rather just take my chance. Yeah. Like, if your opponent plays a turn 1 sphere, it sucks, but like your deck's chock full of mana. I'd rather have the potential of winning on turn 1 rather than just shipping a hand because they might have something.
Yeah, okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's not the end of the world. It does mean that I can't cast anything with the resources that I currently have, but it's not a Chalice on 1, which would have been far more detrimental to this hand.
So now what I want to happen is for us to draw a second mountain, and then we can pulverize and win.
I like the sound of that. Or even just drawing a black land is fine, right? Because we get to go ret ad naus.
That is also true. And I guess both of the mountains in the deck do produce black. That said, it's technically better to cast Pulverize first because then you can use all your artifacts. Where if you just have like basic Swamp or Underground Sea, you can't answer it that turn unless you want to cast like Chain of Vapor or Echoing Truth.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can do that if you just go Ret Adnals.
So, notably, I need to not fuck up if I fetch. I want to 100% get a mountain if I fetch.
All right.
Now life's hard.
So there's the sphere. So now we want to draw 2 lands. Discard Duress.
We'll take this slow. It's fine. I was about to say until we get wastelanded.
All right. So I would concede here personally. I don't like wasting time.
Agreed. My opponent will get something online before I'm going to draw up to 3 lands.
Okay. So we're on the play again. I would shave 2 copies of Ponder for the 2 discard spells. So what's changing here is that you pretty much just want to have interaction for their hate pieces, and you don't need to dig as much on turn 1. You really just want to stop them from disrupting you and then kill them on turns 2 and or 3.
Yes, we got game 1. We were mid ad nauseum when they conceded.
You're really good at drawing ad nauseum.
I am.
So the interesting thing here is that, like, you could go basic island or you could do C. C opens you up for a little bit of risk, but I think it's probably better.
So this is a keep still?
I would keep it.
Okay.
One of the things about playing combo is that I feel, at least with TES, you really can't mulligan aggressively because your deck does have cards like Chromox in it. So like you can't ship playable hands just because they're a couple cards off. Like you kind of just have to take the chance a lot on them. So how would you play this, Phil?
I really want to cast the Thoughtseize on turn 1 to prevent some sort of artifact from getting into play, but doing so forces me to get an Underground Sea, which I don't love. Because if I just
think
get
it's the
wastelanded,
only winning line here, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I get wastelanded, it's bad, but I don't know how I win if my opponent sticks like an artifact mana right now, or not an artifact hate spell.
So the game plan here is turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Brainstorm, and then see where the plane goes.
And this just really needs to get Underground Sea. I can't afford to, get anything else here. It's not a mountain, but it's just, it is what it is.
Yep.
We're trying to take the artifact rather than pulverize the artifacts. Well,
look, is that double diamond? I can't see it.
That is double diamond. So we're getting the sphere, but we're also getting wastelanded. Potentially, opponent might just throw it under a Mox Diamond. We'll see.
So it's really bad if they draw another land, because then they could go diamond, diamond, loam, waste.
Yeah. We're hoping that doesn't happen. We could be in for a real awkward game here, chat. We may end up with...
What's looking like? Oh. They drew a land.
Discard Bog.
It's really weird. Why wouldn't they play the second diamond first? Unless they're just going to cast loam here?
Or are they just going to cast Exploration and then wasteland me?
I guess that's it. I don't think this is a better line, though. I think this is pretty much just worse, because now they can't cast loam on turn 2 if they waste you.
Yeah. I don't like this.
Yeah, I don't agree with this line.
We'll hang out.
All right.
Our opponent has more lands to draw to, I suppose.
They do play a lot of them in their defense. I hope they can't cast anything and they get punished for mis-sequencing.
Well, now they can't cast their other Mox Diamond ever. So we got that going for us.
Come on, fetch. That's frustrating.
All right.
So we want to be able to search up Basic Island and start using our cantrips.
Okay.
The not feel goods, Phil.
Yep. Which one of these not valuable cards is the least? useful Thoughtseize.
In hindsight, I would do everything the same for what it's worth. I would still lead on Thoughtseize.
So now they'll loam. They'll have Bog Wasteland. Neither one of those things is all that stellar right now. They need a way to win. All right.
Our draws have not been good this game.
No.
If you look at how the game would have played out, I guess we would have... No, we would have tapped the Underground Sea, cast Brainstorm into Echoing Truth, Pedal, Tutor, which was pretty bad. And we probably would have gone like Pedal, Ponder, Shuffle. But you have to discard Tutor here. So the Tutor, like in TES, its only good target is really Ad Nauseam that Empty can't, or that Burning Wish can't get. So if you already have Ad Nauseam, you always discard Infernal Tutor. Alright, and now they have the Ghost Quarter, so we're effectively locked out of this game. Because of the Chalice on 0.
That is unfortunate. But I suppose...
It's not a good league, Phil. Not a good league.
I suppose we don't scoop up until they show us that they understand that they can just start locking us out of lands. Assuming I draw one in the first place. Big assumption. Big assumption. Redundant Burning Wish goes.
I don't think it matters anymore, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think we're just dead.
All right, there's a stage. I'm just gonna scoop it up here.
Yeah. Would you like to start a new league, or do you want to play out the last two?
I'm fine with starting a new league if you've got time to do a whole new league.
I'd feel a little bit better about our morale if we did that. An 0-3 league is not exactly what I envisioned happening.
To be fair, one of those 100% was on me. I had the control held down. I just didn't start holding it down soon enough. All right. Let's run it back, chat. Let's do better this time. Yeah.
Hopefully we get our lands friend again, because it is a good matchup.
All right. Our opponent was last seen on a bug control deck.
And it's good.
So I can Chrome Mox, imprint a Thoughtseize, Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual, LED.
So it depends on how ballsy you're feeling, because what you could do is just go Petal Ritual, and if that ritual resolves, you can Thoughtseize and then Mox, imprint, Wish, and then empty for a bunch. Rather than just going in blind, you could just check them with Petal Ritual.
Okay. I mean, if we can use a discard spell on turn 1 and still make a bunch of goblins, that seems like the best of both worlds here. All right.
Boom. Oh, let's have double force. Why?
No!
It always happens, Phil.
Okay. Well, we'll take the first one.
Cast Tutor, see if they force it for some bad reason.
Go on, force it.
Alright, grab an LED.
Alright. That's a turn. We're done.
Also, it's very questionable to me. Your opponent goes Petal Ritual and you don't force it when you have double force in your hand. Literally, the only card that beats you there is empty. So you just don't allow it to happen.
I agree. So now my opponent will get to play a Young Pyromancer. They'll still have a Force of Will backup. Even if I draw a discard spell, I can't use it yet. I don't have black mana.
You're getting pretty close to being able to win, though. Like, great, you still need a black source and a discard spell, but you're ready for when that happens.
Well, we already got rid of one force. There's just one left that we know about. You know, unless they drew another one and just get me good. All right. It's fine.
Magic hates you. That's what I'm getting out of this, Phil. You abandoned your basic planes and
this is what I get. Shit. This is divine retribution.
You get turn ones with Thoughtseize that just aren't good enough. So it's worth noting that you still have 2 main deck empty that you could draw. I mean, that could also happen. But in theory, you could have drawn 2 empty plus mana sources. I think you have to play in a wasteland here. You can't afford not to.
Yeah. So this is.
I would probably just search up Volk and cast Pond. Hope to find like Blast Source plus discard spell. Gristle Brandon, Defense Grid is fine. I think it's probably just worse than Hope of Gearper. The issue with Defense Grid is that it is, in fact, 2 mana.
Okay.
And 2 mana is a pretty high cost for TES. I think Defense Grid is usually better in something like Ant or Sneak and Show.
So I'm going to go to 1 here. I don't get to fetch anymore. I think the writing's on the wall.
I think you're on a literal 0 outer. Unless your opponent has decided to... Nope, they still have Force True Name. There was the black card, though. So as long as your Ponder revealed a black mana, you would have had Duress into whatever. My chair is making lovely noises again.
Do you have a fancy gaming chair?
Nope, it's just a standard desk chair.
Same. I've been considering upgrading the chair, but I haven't pulled the trigger on anything expensive yet.
I bought a new mouse this week because somebody was being an asshole complaining about clicking noises in my YouTube videos. So, free content, can't please everyone.
Yeah, I bought a Logitech G502, and I love it. It's got like weights in the bottom, and it just has a really good feel to it.
Nice. So how do you think we sideboard, Phil?
So this is something that I conceptually see bringing in against most counterspell decks if they can't really block it. Like, our opponent could block it with, like, flipped Delvers or maybe an odd Baleful Strix, but if they have Strix, it's going to get boarded out. I could see bringing in Hopes, and I could see bringing in 1 copy of Empty.
So I typically only bring in the copy of Empty. Hope isn't really for Delver decks. So, like, if they're playing blue-black, like, you're not playing Hope. So they have discard spells or they have flying creatures. So they'll either have Delver, Secrets, or Baleful Strix between the 2 decks. And typically the Delver decks, against TES, they just don't board up Bolt. And I know that's like a little weird coming from an Ant perspective, but with TES, they keep in Bolt because you're an Ad Nauseam deck, where against Ant, they board it out because you're a Past in Flames deck. So, like, your hopes are either going to get blocked or bolted. So it's almost like a dead card.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me, but that's not something I necessarily would have intuited without having played the matchup.
Yeah, and before we run out of time, shave a Burning Wish.
And is that So that's something we've done a couple of times. Is that a general trend that when you tend to bring in an empty, you shave a Burning Wish?
Yep. So you keep the 4th tutor because it finds ad nauseum, where Burning Wish can, in these sort of matchups, generally only finds the sideboard empty. You could get a Past in Flames, but like you're not really that great of a Past in Flames deck, so it is great. So how I envision this hand playing out is you're going to search up Basic Island, you're going to cast Ponder. Depending on what you find on Ponder, turn 2, Basic Swamp, Thoughtseize, and then you're just set up for a natural empty.
Okay. So this is a matchup where you don't necessarily need to lead on the Thoughtseize on turn 1, right? Because there's no like Haymaker card that comes down. And this is a basic land matchup, right?
Yep. If you can afford to play around the Wasteland effects, you generally do in any matchup almost.
I don't mind the Rite of Flame. I don't know that I want to take another land with it, though.
I would probably shuffle this. I know it guarantees a turn 2 empty, but I would rather just not have all these extra lands in case they play a Thoughtseize or something. Much better.
Do I need to play out this Petal this turn? No, that probably works against the empty plan.
Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, I just asked myself a lot, like, what does this gain me? And like something for newer Storm players is they think that they should play out their artifact mana all the time, and it's usually not the case.
Yeah, coming from Ant, it's usually just been correct to play out the artifact mana somewhat aggressively, especially the LEDs.
So here I would, fetch and play Thoughtseize, and then from there, you can decide if you want to cast Ponder or not. Usually the reasons you wouldn't are like you take Force Will and see Daze or something.
Like that?
Take Young Pyromancer, I think. Like, we don't actually care about Force of Will.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely take Young Pyromancer here. And is it worth casting Ponder into the Daze to set them back? Like, are we fine with making that trade?
I don't even know that they would make the trade anyway. Like, if I'm just willing to throw it into it, then it's a trade that I'm willing to accept, so it probably favors me.
Yeah, I would cast Ponder here. Teach him who's boss. We are blessed with having white faces in our chat, Phil.
I hear White Faces is like a pretty okay Magic player.
He also has very long hair and wears makeup on stages.
Ooh. Also a very sexy Magic player, then, apparently.
His band was like 28th ranked metal band of the year.
All right. Daze willing to happen. I accept. So that Daze is gone, and there's +1 land in their hand. Yeah, I never went through a metal phase myself. Never had to go and be in a band. Probably because I'm not musically talented.
I would cast Brainstorm here. We don't actually just want to keep on playing discard spells, so let's try to advance our own game plan.
Well.
Yeah. All right. So I would put 1 empty on top and then a discard spell on top.
Okay.
And then cast one of the discard spells.
Yes.
It's a little bit awkward.
Is there any advantage to casting one over the other here? Like, do I cast the Duress?
I would prefer to not cast Thoughtseize if we don't have to. I wonder if they're considering like a fluster.
Yep.
Called it.
So I suppose I take the fluster.
So next turn we're going to draw the empty. I just want to cast Infernal Tutor for Lotus Petal. And then that will give us double empty plus, artifact mana. So that way, if they happen to play a Thoughtseize or something the turn after, we have redundant threats plus mana.
All right, so despite the fact that my...
I was going to respond to Jade Hem. I don't really listen to metal. I listen to a lot of really shitty music. When I say punk music, I don't mean like 80s punk.
All right, so this is just...
we stacked it wrong. I wanted to draw the other empty this turn. My bad.
Oh, okay.
It's still fine. Let's still cast Tutor here.
So next turn I will be able to produce a metric ton of goblins, and maybe Thoughtseize as well if I draw a mana source.
Boom. So I would probably start off, hold on. I would probably start off with the Lotus Petals, see if they'll force one.
Okay.
And then if those both resolve, then you can cast Thoughtseize, and then keep the land hidden until the last second. Oh, definitely snap take that Marsh Casualties.
Wow.
And now you can play your LED and then empty their face. So from my perspective is, there's very little reason to show the land until the very last second, because like you could always bait out another counter spell. Like give them opportunity to screw up. That's like a thing that I do all the time, no matter what, is I always take every small percentage play I can. So now they're going to force one, and we'll have 8, which is a 3-turn clock. And they didn't wasteland us.
I wonder if that means they have something they're actually playing towards.
I don't think so.
Do I bother to duress, or do I just like wait and save this in case we need to go off again?
Now. I just don't think that they have anything in their hand.
Yeah, because any cantrip they would cast.
Get wrecked. All right.
And that concession there probably means that they don't have like a second Marsh Casualties or anything like that they were drawing towards.
Or even a Snapcaster Mage, because Snapcaster off the top would allow them to cast Marsh Casualties. I can't talk. All right. I'd probably leave it as is.
All right, I'll just whack the submit button real good and hard for you then.
Callum, why are you telling people I'm joking? Make them believe my lies. I met Callum earlier this year in Brussels. We got very, very drunk. And this part is not a lie because it rhymes, but we ate a lot of mussels together. So is this a keep?
I mean, I have 2 different business spells, a ritual, and a cantrip. It seems fine.
Yeah. To me, this is an easy keep. I would just search up Basic Island and start my game plan. And at very worst, Chromox is like half an initial mana source here, but it's also a wasteland-proof mana source, so I'm fine with keeping it.
Real questions, though. Can you do the splits?
Is that a bad joke or something?
No, I think they're just wondering how flexible you are.
Oh, not at all. I broke both my legs when I was an infant, so I've never been even to touch my toes, and that like gym exercise where they make you like push the thing. I can't even get close to it. I'm just like super unflexible.
Rough.
Yeah.
All right. So now I have a little bit more mana. I think it's just Island Ponder and go from there.
Yep. So Callum got to see me propose when I was in Brussels, except he was so freaking drunk that he was laying in the plaza that I proposed in on the ground looking up at the stars. True story. I would snap shuffle this. This is not a good ponder. It's fine. Let's just hope they don't surgical us out of the blue.
Yep. Just pass. There's no reason to get aggressive and like imprint a ponder to ponder again, right?
Yeah, I would not do that. So I just think that actually sets you back rather than anything else. So that's why I wouldn't do it. Like you need that Chromox to be a colored mana source at some point, most likely.
I have never done any attempt at real gymnastics. I'm not particularly athletic. I'm swift. I fenced. That was fun. I did medieval combat. That's about the extent of my physical activity.
So when I was younger, I played baseball because, well, I like baseball a lot, but I was always either a pitcher or first baseman, so I didn't have to run because due to the legs. Oh, we're getting surgical tier. Fuck.
On the
Whenever
ponder.
your opponent pauses in your draw step, it's 100% a surgical. But you don't have to run if you're in those positions, so they put you in those. Stick you at first or pitcher. I guess on the bright side, they're down to 3 cards.
Yeah, so is it correct to take ponder there over Infernal Tutor? I feel like yes.
Well, if they already have the surgical, so they're just, it's a free card. And I would just pass here. There's no reason to do anything.
I've been a little unlucky this stream.
All right. So here I would just search up Badlands, cast Burning Wish. And if it resolves, you get empty. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. So before you cast the wish, hold on. Do we want to try to play around days? We can play out the pedal. It's -1 storm. But I don't know if we're beating a Delver flipped if we pass, because then it's like an empty for 8 versus a Delver.
I feel like I don't want to play around days.
Yeah,
right?
It's close. I'd probably just jam the wish.
I feel like if they have the days and they don't use it now, it might get us later anyway, depending on what other disruption they have as well. So might as well take the highest upside play.
I feel like out of their 3 cards, one of them is definitely a disruption piece. All right. Grab that, empty the dank.
All right.
So there's a strong possibility that one of the cards in their hand is a fluster. I just have like a gut feeling. Like they took a long time to think about that. But we're going to do what we do and make goblins.
All right. So I can't do it this turn, right? Because I only can produce 3 mana. Yeah, we have the best goblin deck. Can make more goblins than goblins.
Okay, so they didn't cast their brainstorm looking for a discard spell. So that probably means they already have fluster.
All right. There's not a real world where I get to beat the fluster, right?
Not really. Kind of just is what it is. So
Lotus Petal, Rite of Flame, or Rite of Flame, imprint nothing with Chrome Box empty.
Alternatively, what we could do is we could go Rite of Flame, Mox, Petal, empty, let them fluster that, and then we have Petal Tutor left over, Is well, I mean the pedal's in play, but that way we can like Infernal Tutor for ad nauseum or even another empty. It's one less goblin though is the issue. So like if they don't have fluster, it's going to be a close race. But if they do, you're set up to win.
I mean, I feel like they have fluster.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too.
All right, so I just want to make sure I have that. Cast pedal, cast mox, imprint nothing, right, empty, and just leave this in play.
Well, I would imprint on the mox. I would start off by casting Rite of Flame. Like that's step one, because if they counter this, you don't want to put in any more resources.
Okay. And so then you're saying, instead of casting this Rite of Flame, Chrome Mox it?
Yep, because it gives you an extra initial mana source. Like our opponent, like 100% has Fluster in their hand. There's no reason that they wouldn't cast Brainstorm on the previous turn.
This is a weird point to pause.
Yeah. So next turn, hopefully you'll draw a land, and then you can just tutor up ad nauseum.
Marsh Casualties?
Yeah. That's usually only a one of though, so like if they just had their one of twice, like it happens. Or
what?
That. Okay.
God, and it gets the Lotus Petal and the Chrome Mox.
It's a rough life for Phil Gallagher. There is no winning. There's only 0-5ing.
Apparently. It is just mono sadness here.
Gas Brainstorm, I guess. It's not getting any better.
Good God.
Have you ever gone 0 and a million on your stream before, Phil? Because I feel like now's our chance to do it.
Only when playing like really bad decks.
Okay.
But like the potential is here tonight. So this isn't actually too bad, right?
It's fine. So how we realistically win this game is we empty before they can kill us again with Delver or Insectile Aberration. So if we next turn go tutor LED empty, it's 6 goblins. It's a 3-turn clock, assuming that it all resolves.
Mm-hmm. Or do we need to be greedier and try to like brainstorm into something next turn?
I mean, that's also a possibility. So like you could put like either tutor or LED below the brainstorm and just play your land for turn.
I don't know that the 6 goblins will be good enough because like anything beats it, right? Like a piece of discard or a counterspell or even just another creature beats it.
I agree. Which like I think you just need to put 2 cards on top and play your land, and then next turn see what happens. You can either try to just go brainstorm in response crack, which isn't good enough, or like draw brainstorm. Wait, hold on. If no matter what here you have to take of the tutors, you're probably just better off waiting a turn.
Okay.
Right? Am I wrong? Because like no matter what here you have to keep the tutor, so you can't go plus a card no matter what. So you might as well just wait.
All right, that makes sense to me.
And then I guess the best thing next turn is like another LED, and then you can add Nauseam from 6 and hope to hit perfects, and them not have anything.
Oh, so here's a common question from chat. What are the advantages of TES over Ant?
Going 0 and 5 on stream. Realistically, or really, you should just go to theepicstorm.com and then look at the FAQ section.
So
yeah, that's the Thoughtseize just seals the deal. There's no winning at this point.
Oh God. Actually, that doesn't... Is this... Did they just do that on instinct? Or do they have a daze, too? Alright.
Okay. So now they take your LED, and then you draw tutor. You could Infernal Tutor for Burning Wish for Grape Shot, but, I mean, that's, like, not a winning line.
Okay, is there any line? Like, if I draw LED off the top?
Nope.
Because I'll be
You're
at
just dead.
3 life. Alright. Womp womp.
Yeah. Your opponent had all these. It kind of just happens. The E there was really rough. Like, if that was Marsh Casualties, you were still in that game. But E was literally
100%.
the card.
And EE is not something that we should be playing around there. That is not a common inclusion in the deck. I don't know that I've ever seen that in that deck, honestly. Seems rough with all your young Pyromancer tokens.
I can't believe we're losing this much. I mean, I lose a fair amount, but not this much.
Yeah, we're in a rut. Hopefully we dig our way out of it.
You also haven't gotten too many good matchups aside from lands. Like, Turbo Depths is 50-50. Or Depths, or Medium Depths, or fucking Mox Diamond Depths, or all these stupid named Depths. They're all the same deck. But that deck's like a coin flip.
Yes, it is easy to calculate our win rate so far tonight. That is correct. Looking at the positives. And Golgari Grey Boy, I don't know if I thank you or not, but thank you for resubbing. I appreciate your continued support. We are playing against Senior Stompy.
This guy usually is on Reanimator. This hand is not good.
Yeah, I feel like if we get discarded here, I do nothing.
Also, you've opened up a lot of no land 7 hands.
I'm really good at drawing no land 7s and drawing hands with the ad nauseum in it already.
Both of these things are true. This hand is fantastic.
Bottom?
I'd probably buy that. Yeah. So are they going to reveal Chancellor?
Nope, but we'll probably just get turn 1 Grizzlebrand. Nope.
Underground Sea Thoughtseize.
Entomb. All right, there's the Entomb. Let's see if they... Oh. Oh.
All right.
So, am I playing these out or keeping? I think keeping?
Yeah, I don't know if I see a reason to play them.
Feels like this is probably just going to be Delver now. We'll see. It could be Blue-Black Reanimator.
Sure.
But Grixis Delver seems much more likely. Sure, could be Shadow as well. But they probably would have gotten Shockland if it was Shadow.
It might have been right to just play out the LEDs. Because I'd rather our opponent just discard a Brainstorm here rather than a Lion's Eye Diamond. Because it... Oh, no, it's Reanimator. Cast Brainstorm.
All right.
I would actually hold your land drop. I know I said that before, but now you want to hit another blue land so that we can Brainstorm into the ad nauseum. And that is not good enough. I would put ad nauseum the second from the bottom.
Okay. So, and then what else is just going back? The Badlands?
A blue card. Either of them.
So, Brainstorm, then Adnause. So, Adnause is on top.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, I guess it doesn't...
Nope, we did it backwards. Nope. Shit. I'm really bad at explaining that, so it's probably my fault. I wanted you to next turn play a cantrip, crack LED, cast ad nauseam. We can't do that now. Shit.
Okay.
Play out your LED. We can't afford to get this one discarded. And we'll just pass. For what it's worth, Blue-Black Reanimator is literally, I think, one of our worst matchups. Like, worse than Mud, worse than Eldrazi. Like, Blue-Black Reanimator is, like, it might be bottom percentage of matchups for me.
I mean, everyone has their... Hold on. We can still ad nause next turn, right? We just go, like...
Put ad nauseam on top. So we're going to draw ad nauseam. We're not going to draw the brainstorm.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Sorry, I was thinking about mana. Never mind. Note that our opponent probably has some degree of interaction anyway after drawing that many cards with Grizzlebrand.
Hold on, we should fetch. We can't afford to draw the... yeah, nauseam. We have to try to draw like Tutor or Burning Wish and see if we can win that way. Just hope that they don't have anything. I know it's like they just drew 14 cards. They have to have something. I agree. But this is literally the only way you can win. HC Fox, that's not exactly true. Burning Wish is literally perfect there. Okay, so we can still win. We're going to start off by playing Badlands. Let's cast Rite of Flame off of the Volcanic. Now let's cast Ponder. So one, this makes it look like we need this Ponder, so they might force it. And then two, we found that fucking Thoughtseize, so now we're going to cast Thoughtseize.
Nice.
Probably take their force and then Grape Shot them to death. Okay. That's what I was worried about. So if they have Dazed Force, we lose.
Okay.
So you have to let that happen.
Yep.
And now you just go all in making red.
Alright, so now before I cast the spell, I hold down the control button. Burning Wish. Sorry, I have to move you out of the way so I can see which color to crack this for. Crack for red. And now I'll bring you back.
Come on, resolve one time. That's unfortunate.
All right, so note that the ad nause line
literally hit exactly
would not have gotten there either against this.
Yeah, but it was kind of cool that we found the wish we needed and we found the discard spell, but unfortunately we just didn't get there.
All right. Do I just concede here? I don't really see a world where we beat them drawing 7 additional cards every turn.
I agree. And Blue-Black Reanimator, that's really rough. This used to be a really, really popular deck around like 2011 to 13. And I would get so sad whenever I got paired against it. All right, so the empties are pretty miserable here.
Just terrible in the face of Grizzlebrand, essentially.
Yeah, I do like a couple of the hopes. So I'd probably board in like
2.
I'd probably board out 1 discard spell for another hope. So that way you have 1 to wish for.
So I guess just boarding out the Thoughtseize is better because I don't really want to take my opponent's creatures.
Sure. And then I'd probably shave a Ponder. A Ponder or a Mox. I'll leave that one up to you. For the one of Chain of Vapor. It's kind of just a hedge to beat like a random Iona.
Okay. You're not really intending to beat Grizzlebrand this way, just the random hate-based creatures.
Yeah. And sometimes they will just put an Iona into play and name red, so that way they think that you can't win.
All right, that's fair. I want you to remember this moment right here, Phil. All this combo deck you hate getting turn 1 to buy as D&T. It's the blue-black Reanimator heroes who keep that away from you. All right. Oh man, I remember. I haven't seen a Jin-Gitaxias in play for quite some time.
Sure.
This is fun.
Delta C Duress. Like, this hand's fine. Like, it's not bad. It's just, like, it's not explosive, you know?
I mean,
like, this is a pretty medium TES hand.
Bear with two guns. It's kind of like, how technical do you want to be versus how much of a normal human being do you want to be? Because no human would, like, really just go and say, like, a hot dog is a sandwich. But if you're like, well, it has a meat and 2 pieces of bread, then sure, I see where you're coming from.
Our opponent mulliganed. Take Brainstorm?
Yep, seems good.
It's interesting that they have Liliana in their deck.
Rats. Oh, don't worry about the record, Arkin. Just stay for the quality content. Both teams have tried hard so far in this league. One, two, 3, 4. They don't have quite enough mana to do anything yet. Is it worth Infernal Tutoring for another Rite of Flame?
No, because then you have to use Burning Wish. Honestly, I think it might just be best to cast Burning Wish here for Past in Flames. Give yourself some redundancy in case of a discard spell. Or like a Flusterstorm, like play a little bit of a longer game.
Do I Lotus Petal to play around a daze? Just
if they want to daze that, you let it happen. I'd rather have a Lotus Petal than whatever card we can get off that. Here comes Lily. Probably discard the Chromax here.
Nola Gold, thank you very much for the raid. We are currently playing the Epic Storm versus Blue-Black Reanimator. They have a Liliana of the Veil in the play. And we're going to hope that this Reanimate doesn't go on anything scarier than a Leshnorn.
I think we should cast Ponder here. That ritual is very good. We definitely want that. Do we fear them putting anything other than Leshnorn into play? Because we could take the Thoughtseize and leave Ritual on top, and then Thoughtseize them, taking the Reanimate.
That makes sense to me.
Let's do it.
All right. So let's make sure we're clear, because we fucked this up a couple of times. So Burning Wish on bottom, then Dark Writ, then Thoughtseize. Draw Thoughtseize this turn. Draw Dark Writ next turn.
Correct. Oh, hold on. Do we want to risk them drawing a Grizzlebrand? Because we almost need that, all the cards in our hand in order to win.
Okay. So
if our opponent wants to put an Elishorn into play, I think we kind of just let them.
Yeah, if they take 7 to do that, we can kill them very easily, right?
So we'll be drawing Dark Ritual. We'll be discarding Past in Flames. I'm not even sure if we have a win next turn. So it's 6 mana down to 4. We could get an LED, which would bring us up to 7 with a flashback. If we get a Dark Ritual instead, we'll have 1 mana floating, which isn't enough. So I feel like we're still pretty far away.
Okay. But do we take the Thoughtseize now and just accept
I think
Elishnorn?
we take the Thoughtseize. Let him draw with the Elishnorn.
This Lily stripping everything out is kind of rough.
All right, so let's think through our discard before we actually do it. So if we discard the Past in Flames here next turn, we can tutor.
Tutor just for another Rite of Flame?
Same spot either way. Yeah, probably the Past in Flames. And then next turn we'll search up a copy of Tutor, and then we should be good to win it on the following turn. So now we can Infernal Tutor for another ritual.
For Rite of Flame, correct?
I would get Dark Ritual.
Okay.
If you get Rite of Flame, it's 1 less mana in the long run.
So Lily pluses, we discard Petal.
Probably Rite of Flame. There's no reason to discard, like they're both +1 mana. You might as well do keep the one that's free.
Okay.
So if you draw like another card next turn, you might want to cast instead. That actually wasn't bad. So we'll have 7 mana. Burning Wish is actually a good draw here. I think we just have a clean kill. I'll let you walk through this one. You should be able to get it, Phil.
So I've got Rit, Lotus Petal, Past in Flames, Rite of Flame, Rit, Burning Wish. That'd be Storm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tendrils.
Yep.
Note, opponent is Hellbent. They've been discarding their own cards with Lily, so it is just safe.
Nope.
Oh, nope.
And a concession. All right.
Yeah. So Arkan, I've played Storm, just Ant. I haven't played TES. So any slowness on my end here is adjusting between archetypes.
I think I want to take Hope of Ghirapur out. We saw Liliana, and we're on the draw. Hope is a little bit slow on the draw. So I think I'd rather just have a couple of cards that we boarded out, mainly the Thoughtseize and the Ponder.
Ponder, Thoughtseize, and then begrudgingly play an empty?
No, definitely not. Maybe one Hope. We could do one Echoing Truth if you'd like. That's fine.
If our opponent is just playing something like Elishnorn, and we bounce that after they put it in play, that's not scary.
I'd be more concerned with like an Iona personally, or game 1 we saw them discard what's it called, Sire of Insanity, where like you can bounce the Sire before the trigger happens.
All right, let's do this. I
like
don't
on the draw. I just think Hope is a little bit slow.
Yeah, I don't feel like Hope is going to be stellar.
I don't think you actually submitted for what it's worth unless your screen is frozen. Okay.
This seems fine.
Everything is fine. House on fire. All right, so I think we should try to get him here. We should lead off on Petal Ponder to see if they'll counter it.
That's cheeky. I like it.
Every small advantage you can get, Phil.
Hey, I'm a D&T player. I'm used to crawling out of some really weird places with those small advantages. Yeah, here's this long pause.
That was good. All right, so we want to draw the Duress.
Okay.
And then let's put the so Petal on the bottom, Scalding Turn, Duress.
Okay.
And now we'll go Chromox, Ritual, see if Ritual resolves, and then do your thing. But with the way your hands have gone tonight, your opponent will have double force, so we'll just kill ourselves. So.
Yep.
Not magically, just literally.
Yeah, so I do Imprint Dark Ritual, then cast Dark Ritual into Duress, Infernal Tutor, double LED, yada, 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 right?
Yep. Heart of the cards, one time. Let's not be 0-17.
All right.
There we go.
How many counterspells do you have over there, friend?
Entomb.
Deal. Deal, 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 deal.
I might trademark that Kiki Jiki. The epic feels bad.
All right. Well, that happens, right? Like we're committed.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't daze anything else up until that point, though. Like, that's a little sketchy to me.
It's all right. They probably have 2 Force of Wills in there now. All right. Control prior to starting to cast the spell. Cast.
Red black. You don't even need to add nauseam. You can just Burning Wish Tendrils if it resolves.
Oh wow, the storm count. It's so high already. This is easy.
Holy shit, Phil.
We did it.
Actually won a match.
We did it.
I feel like we should do shots.
I mean, you said that this one was hard. Maybe you've been lying to me. Maybe we just need to play against this deck all night and we'll just like luck sack our way through it.
Maybe. We're now 1-4. Woo!
All right. Why don't we take about a 2-minute break here? I'm gonna use the restroom real quick and refresh on my water, and then we'll get back into it. So I'm gonna.
Can't believe we beat the worst matchup we've seen tonight and beaten a bunch of close ones, or lost to a bunch of close ones, and one very good one lands.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna go to a be right back screen. Your audio will still be live.
Look at that drawing of Thalia. That's creepy. I don't like it. So, did anyone find my Dean's List joke as funny as I did? Because I thought it was hilarious. that we are calling Phil's stream the Dean's List because he's the Dean of ThrabenU University.
All right. I'm back. So, hello everyone. My name is Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University, a site for legacy, death, and taxes. And I'm joined tonight by Bryant Cook, who runs theepicstorm.com, aka blackbelcher.com. And we're trying to crush some matches of Legacy tonight. And we have just succeeded in destroying a reanimator player. Let's see if we can continue this trend.
I would like to 4-1 this league. That would feel good.
That would feel great. Yes, chat, you are on super secret double probation. You always have been. I have to keep my eye on you.
Phil is a teacher.
That's why I crack down. Moderate chat. We're playing against Loam.
Probably, but Dan also plays a fair share of Maverick. But we're on the play, which is Yudge.
Well, this seems bad.
So you're going to disagree with me here? I keep hands like this.
Is it just because if you rip one of 8 cards, you just, like, go?
Yep.
All right.
You're welcome to disagree.
No,
but, like,
you know what you're doing. I trust your judgment.
So I would first lead on just Chrome Mox and Print Duress Thoughtseize, and then make judgments after that. And Dan is mulligan to 6.
Azriel Chimera, thank you very much for sending your Twitch Prime money this way this month. I appreciate your support. I hope you're enjoying the legacy content here. All right, so Chrome Mox, Imprint, Duress, Thoughtseize, and then make my land choice based from there.
Yep.
I guess this is punishing if he has, like, double Chalice Opener, which he does not. All right.
All right.
So there's...
I'd probably just play out the diamonds.
Just in case he gets another Chalice and decides to play it on 0.
Yeah. I would hold the Volcanic, though.
All right.
Like, I just don't want to expose it to a wasteland if we don't have to.
So opponent doesn't have a lot of business here. They'll, get to play out one of the lands and then cycle the thicket.
Elvin715, what's your real name? I feel like I know it. Or I've seen you post in, like, the TES group, but I can't place who you actually are.
Again,
there's no wasteland this turn. I'm probably playing the Volcanic.
Okay. Mtesm, thank you very much for your continued support as well. Down with TES, you say? Well,
Is that like a good down or like a bad down?
I feel like it's a bad down, not like a, hey, let's get down.
I don't like. Whoa, we are not going to 0-5. We are 1-4.
We've already passed that.
All right, they drew it a turn late, but boom!
Hey! Now I just win this game
That's
of
how
Magic.
We do, Phil. No, bad, Phil. Bad.
You're right.
Who taught you how to play Magic?
I don't know. Some scrubs in Iowa.
You're from Iowa?
No, I'm from Illinois, but I learned to play Magic in Iowa.
I feel like I should have been making Field of Dream references at you this entire time.
God, I hate that movie. Like, it's all right.
I would not have agreed to come on the stream if you were going to badmouth Field of Dreams.
Let me rephrase that. It is a great movie, but as someone from the Midwest, the number of times that I have seen that for, like, sub days in school when the teacher was sick is absurd.
It's an American classic.
It is.
So something that I see that happens with a lot of standard players in general. Hey, you remember to hold control.
I did. Do
I
I
would
just
float
do
red.
go black again or red?
Nope, red. So you're gonna float red black post ad nauseum. Is they tap whatever land that is closest to them or they see first, and I know like 90% of the time it doesn't matter, but you shouldn't tap lands just because. Like you should always tap the bare minimum resource. So like if your spell only requires black, tap a swamp or in this example a Chrome Mox or a Mox Jet, whatever. There's no reason to tap Underground Sea or anything else. It's just a good habit to be in. And in the long run, it will get you wins because people are playing around Spell Pierce or Brainstorm or something else that's just crazy. And it's just like a good practice to have.
Yeah, 100%. It is something that I normally do. I'm using more brain power than normal tonight.
And against the Loam bad people, we're boarding in those E-Truths and that chain. And we're going to board out one empty.
So is... Oh, I guess the chain's still good against Chalice on 0.
I mean, it also hits Thalia, you know, that hoe.
I'm very familiar with her ways, yes.
And then we'll board out Duress and an empty. So they typically bring in Tabernacle. Some must have a main deck. I know, like, I got crushed on an article recently over that, but like, I've certainly had people play a turn one or a game one Tabernacle against me, and me just like put my hands in my head, you know.
Yep.
So.
I've been playing a lot of 4-color Loam, and in my list, which is Connor Fulse's list, aka Loamer Boy from the chat, the Tabernacle is in the sideboard, but you know, there are other versions. There are multiple versions of that deck running around that are only a couple of cards different, so you can't be 100% sure on which list your opponent is playing. All right.
But yeah, that's how I board.
This looks good to me.
But what I also like about this is that your ad nauseums are now just nuts by only having 1/4 in your deck. I'm just trying to see how much chair noise I can make in one stream. What do you think, Phil?
I'm not overly impressed by my hand, but I don't think I want to throw it back either.
Yeah, I would keep this. Chalice for 0.
No.
No Chalice. Much disrespect.
So that is probably an indication that our opponent has kept on the power of, like, Chalice of the Void or Thalia, would be my guess.
If knowing Dan, he would play Chalice if he had it. So I would personally play Chromax and print Tutor, cast Thoughtseize.
Thalia. And a Golgari Charm.
Well, we're not making goblins anyway.
All right. This is an easy take Thalia situation.
What was the land that went into play turn 1?
Tranquil Thicket tapped.
Did he mulligan? No, he kept.
No. So there is no white mana to cast this Thalia, but I don't think we take that chance anyway.
Yeah. All right, take the Thalia.
I mean, do you think I'm wrong?
No, I think you're right. It just like it sucks because the Dark Confidant's going to quickly get out of hand, but we can't afford to search up a basic swamp with this Bloodstained Mire. So I think you're right. We take the Thalia, and then we're going to play Mire and pass. And the next turn, we're probably going to go Petal Brainstorm or just fetch Brainstorm, see what happens.
Just before I pass, is there any world where I Thoughtseize the Dark Confidant?
So we can do that, but you have to get your basic swamp. And from there...
Or blow a Petal?
No, let's screw it. Let's get the basic swamp and Thoughtseize it. Let's do it.
All right.
Fuck it. We'll write it and we'll do it live. This fucking thing sucks.
Because, like, after playing a decent amount of Loam, like, Bob's really good.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, we're very close. We're a mana off from winning right now. Would you prefer to wait a turn, or do you want to go Petal Brainstorm? I feel like it's probably safer to just wait a turn.
I think I wait a turn.
Yep. All right, let's see if your opponent casts Lily. If they play Lily, I'm probably discarding the Brainstorm.
Yeah, because then I still just go off with 1 mana anyway.
Yep.
So opponent can draw towards a number of untapped black lands. Oh.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Not that there's anything I can do about it.
Dan is still dead to a ritual or LED off the top.
All right. Yeah. So there's Mox Diamond, discard Wasteland, play Lily, and I discard
we discard
Brainstorm that I can't cast anyway.
All right. So he has no cards in hand. We can just empty for 8 and hope that he doesn't draw Tabernacle.
I mean, opponent is Hellbent, so that sounds good to me.
I would probably get the basic island here.
No, the Golgari Charm was discarded. Yeah. So when they Lily Plus, they had 1 card left in hand, and that was Golgari Charm.
All right, let's hope 8 is enough. Did he have 6 to his turn?
He sure did.
Let's kill that Lily. Let's swing 5 at Lily. Let's just make sure. And we'll send 3 at him.
Oh my god, was it Golgari Charm off the top?
Come on, Dan. Don't do that. Let's do 5. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. 3, 4.
You know what? That was probably a bluff to make us
5.
think that he has another decay, but it doesn't change the clock at all to swing 1 less at him.
He says, I hit F6.
We
yeah,
know.
that was clear.
All right, so post-combat, let's cast Brainstorm. Maybe you can draw one of the 2 other Thoughtseizes. I was wrong. Technically, it does change the clock to swing 1 less. Let's put Burning Wish on the bottom, and then Echoing Truth and cast Thoughtseize.
That's a decent one to hit.
Yeah. If we wanted to, we could Echoing Truth as Mox Diamond to keep him off of Deluge mana. Not anymore, but crash.
So I'm thinking about the Echoing Truth here. So this is my opponent's only source of white mana. And it,
so it shuts off Thalia or Night.
I think that's good enough, right? Like,
sure. Let's do it.
It's not like there's very many other things that we'd want to bounce at this stage anyway. Arkin, I don't know that we necessarily need to like try to Thoughtseize pre-combat.
Well, we didn't have it either. Like we could have. We didn't know that we were going to brainstorm into one of the last 2 Thoughtseizes. So they are now shut off Toxic Deluge, and even with a Tabernacle, we could pay for 2.
Yeah, and they can't fetch either.
Woot woot.
All right.
Wow, Empty the Warrens is such a crutch.
This deck's basically Belcher.
Yeah.
But, you know, with some
in the
dark
2-4
rituals.
bracket, you might as well be Belcher.
So while we're queuing, because it's been taking like 2 minutes recently, do you want to tell the chat about the newest addition to your site? Because I think it's sweet.
Oh, for those of you that are unfamiliar, theepicstorm.com now is a shop/merch store. You can get all of your favorite Black Belcher merch there, along with some other stuff like a Band Rite of Flame. There's a baseball T-shirt, so if you like 3/4 length sleeves, you can get those there. The back say Storm 20. Keeper X. I faced this person before. I could probably look up what they were playing if I wasn't lazy.
Red Prison, or maybe.
Nope, you're right.
Red Prison.
I think we have to ship this. I mean, you could go all in on a pedal brainstorm, but I think you're probably better off mulliganing.
I essentially have like no payoff card for all of this mana. And in order to actually go off, I would need to brainstorm into like go off mana card shooter plus another initial mana source.
I would probably keep this. I know it sucks because you have double Chromox, but like 2 lands and you have access to 2 basic lands and a duress. Like you just need to draw Brainstorm or Ad Nauseam or something. But I think it's probably better than your average 5, and that is a good card.
That'll top. That's fine. Let's see if we lose the game on turn 1. Yeah, I love the tokens that he made.
Oh, they're in your favorite deck.
All right. And a splash build that probably means good things for us.
So I'm not casting that duress. I'm probably just playing Delta and passing.
Okay. You want to wait to see if they get like a Stoneforge Mystic and take a Batterskull if that comes in?
Actually, no. Let's play Chromox and Imprint Duress. This way, if they play a turn 2 Thalia, we already have another mana source in play for Burning Wish and a Massacre. Maverick?
Foothills is weird for a D&T splash.
Yeah, it's
so
probably
this
Maverick.
is probably Maverick.
I'll be completely honest, Phil. If I knew that we were facing Maverick, I probably would have kept Reverse Sand. But our opponent doesn't have
I can see that. Yeah, our opponent doesn't have Thalia.
All right, play a land pass. I think I would fetch up the basic island just to get a land out of our deck. Sure.
I only have.
So now a ritual or an LED wins it on our turn.
I only have one of each basic, right?
Yep.
So it doesn't matter which one of these I fetch with at this point.
Yep. Whatever your heart desires, Phil.
Get out of here, Skeleton turn.
I think we're one short.
So I can imprint one of these,
imprint.
play this. So this
Am I wrong?
So this is 4, 5, 6, 7, cast down to 5.
No, that wins.
Adnos?
Yeah.
Neat.
It should be able to win. We do have 2 empties in our deck, so...
Sure, and we have taken a couple of hits, but we're probably fine.
Your good? Whose good does your belong to, Gristle Brandon? I think the only thing that I don't like about the shop, Phil, is that it is not cheap to ship to other countries from the United States. That is not a me fault. That is a USPS fault. All right, so hold up. So their knight is currently a 4/4. It can be a 5/5 with pro red. If we stop now and cast empty, it will be for storm 10, which likely isn't enough. So I think we have to keep revealing and hope to hit a Burning Wish. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking about like utility lands, but they probably don't have a Tabernacle in their, mana dork deck, so we don't really need to worry about that.
Come on, Burning Wish.
All right, so now we're all in on Burning Wish.
We are either going to win or we are going to die.
I accept. Hey, it's Burning Wish.
We win. It seems as if we're running it back.
Yeah, things have gotten much better now.
All right. So like before, we want 4 bounce spells. We're going to take out 4 other cards. So I don't really like Duress in these matchups. Just not really that great. And probably 1 Ponder.
That sounds good to me.
I know a lot of people, they get really weirded out by setting out Ponders, but the issue is against these sort of decks, you never ever want to cast a Ponder on turn 1 instead of like a Thoughtseize or just killing them. So if you're casting Ponder, you're just opening yourself up for them to, lock you out of the game on turn 2.
Yeah, and especially like when you start playing against cards like Thalia that like actively make the Ponders worse. Just trimming them is fine. It's not blasphemy to cut cantrips.
When I was younger, I really, really hated Gaddock Teague. And nowadays, if my opponents were playing Gaddock Teagues instead of Thalias, I'd be much more happy.
This seems good.
I've certainly kept worse hands.
I mean, I just get to open on a Thoughtseize to stop like an initial Thalia off a basic. Oh. No, I can still get him.
Yeah, you have a pedal. The part that becomes awkward is if you need to like Burning Wish for Massacre. But that might not even happen. Well, now you can do it.
Yeah, now I can just like basic Swamp Thoughtseize off this Delta. Or I guess... No, it doesn't matter what fetch.
Jadehem. The empty makes a lot of sense. It's good in almost every matchup, other than like combo decks. So we were playing an 8th discard spell there, and empty's good against most of the decks where you want discard spells being control decks, but it's also good against decks like Death and Taxes or Maverick or whatever. I can't tell what sort of Fire Ice.
Why did they keep this hand? This was a keep on 7.
Crop Rotation gets them a white source for Stoneforge.
I guess they're keeping on Stoneforge for Batterskull.
I guess so.
That seems loose.
Do you think that they have a Tabernacle?
I don't think they have.
We should take Crop Rotation.
I don't think they have Tabernacle, but if we take Crop Rotation, it does also strand, like, all these white cards in their hand.
Yeah, I like taking crop rotation partially because I think we don't want to win this game with goblins. We want to go dark petition into ad nauseum. So I would like to play around Bazooka Bog.
All right. And my opponent could top deck a Thalia.
We'll just scream at them through the internet.
That sounds good.
I don't want to play our pedal right now. We know that they have the wear tear.
Okay.
Sure. Island pass. Look at all those wastelands. They could hardcast Fortify Ice.
Yeah. Why?
But we can just add noz now. So watch your sequencing, but Underground Sea, Lotus Petal. Because we have to play around the wear tear.
Yeah, so the last thing I need to do right before I cast is add noz.
Correct.
Yeah, and so now it's just LED, Infernal Tutor, ditch these three, and add noz for the win, hopefully.
Yep. Sorry, I was reading the chat. I said something to Jidham and then quit paying attention. I think we knew our opponent's draws. They drew Scavenging Ooze, then another Wasteland.
This still gets to tap for mana.
Yeah, but they gave us a free Storm.
They sure did.
So we've played a land this turn. So something we want to do is start by playing our artifact mana as fast as possible post ad nauseum. It just helps you play around surgical extraction.
All right. Do we know our opponent's entire hand, though? Yeah, it's Knight of the Reliquary, Stoneforge Mystic, Sword of Fire and Ice. So we have literally nothing to play around.
Okay. That lovely chair noise. Hey, Phil, for the holidays, do you want to buy me some WD-40?
I think I can probably spring for that, yeah.
Joking. I actually have some in my desk. I just need to grease it up. Ooh, the second empty. But on the bright side, we can flip down to 2 now if we need it.
Boy, do I have a lot of mana. Do I just have a win yet?
You had a win a while ago.
Oh, okay.
I guess the LED was the win on the previous flip. My bad.
Okay.
Woot woot. 3 and 4.
Hey, we're running it back. We're in the groove now. Now we're just ready to win. We weren't ready to win before, apparently.
Let's win this one. A 4-1 league isn't bad.
Zadaris, I think that card is unplayable in a splash build of D&T. Generally speaking, blue is probably the weakest color to try and splash in D&T, and that card isn't good enough for you to want to splash for it. So that's nothing that's going to change the power of a blue splash. I think it's more likely that it may see some fringe play in the sideboard of some blue-white decks if the time is right. But it's kind of a medium card for Legacy. I think great for Vintage.
I would agree with what Phil said.
And similarly, at the beginning of the stream, we talked about Tithe Taker. I'll flash that on the screen real quick. This is a card that I'm going to test. I think it has potential. It probably ends up being on the wrong side of playability, but this one's close enough that I think it's worth trying. Yeah, the card's cool. It's an okay tax ability on a creature that leaves another body around. And in a world of Grixis control, cards like Hallowed Spirit Keeper that give you value when they die, that's an okay place to be.
Round 5.
Battle, 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 battle.
I want it, Phil.
Oh, yeah. Let's get it. We're thirsty. Better drink some water. We might need to want it from the next opponent, though, it looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, nope.
There's like a giant truck driving by my house making awful noises.
Well, I can't hear it.
Trying to arm it on.
Last seen playing Esper Stoneblade.
That makes sense. I would keep this. That's the thing about Storm is people could lose to Black-Red Reanimator 8 times and call it variance, but they lose to Storm once, and all of a sudden they play like these really narrow cards just to beat Storm. I see it a lot, or they'll be like, well, this matchup's close, I might as well dedicate 8 cards to beating this one archetype, instead of just like playing a couple more in order to beat maybe their mid-range matchup and 4 cards to beat Storm.
Yeah, Storm, like, Amp plus Test together is maybe total 6% of the metagame or something like that. So I think it's just going off the deep end to do anything like that. All right.
Should probably play something.
Yeah, I guess we should play some Magic. My opponent does not have Wasteland in their deck if they're playing the Esper Stoneblade list that they played in the challenge yesterday, so I don't think it matters which land I lead on.
Okay.
So I'm going to lead on Volcanic Island.
You can do whatever you'd like, Phil. It's your stream.
I am.
You can not hold control if you want to.
I did that once already. It did not work out so well. For anyone who wasn't here when it happened, I pressed the control button after I had already started to cast the spell, and I held it down, but I didn't realize that you have to hold it down before you start casting the spell at all. Infernal Tutor for another LED?
No, I'd probably just play... Nope, I would play the Badlands and probably just cast Burning Wish.
Okay, what's the approach then?
So I would probably just get empty. But you also have a backdoor with the second Burning Wish, so if they just jam Stoneforge, you can Burning Wish for Massacre, or you can use that Burning Wish later to set up a Past in Flames win, because Stoneblade sort of has a tough time dealing with Past in Flames. In general, I try to maximize my brainstorms if I can by just holding them a little longer. And now, like, to me, this is a very balanced hand against the blue-white deck.
Okay, yeah, I see where this is going now. A lot of times, I think I'm conceptualizing Burning Wish wrong, where I'm thinking of it as like a card that is going to win me the game now-ish, rather than a setup card. And so, like, that option just would not have occurred to me.
All right, I think now's the time to fire off that brainstorm.
Well.
All right, then. Maybe put back 1 tutor and a land.
All right, with the intention of
shuffling them away.
Yeah, okay.
And then I'd probably just cast Burning Wish for Past in Flames. I don't think there's any point in playing around back to basics at this point.
We don't need to. Our opponent does not have it in their 75 if it's the same list as yesterday. for those of you playing along at home, there's a very big difference between Moto Magic and Paper Magic, and it's the internet.
Yep.
Yeah, so one of my issues with Lavinia, because I see you're still talking about it a little bit in chat, is that it's kind of soft hate, right? It's a card that might be powerful in the first couple of turns of the game, but it's really going to like decrease in potency over time. And that's not where I want to be with my hate cards. I want my hate cards to have a huge impact on a game, and I want them to be must-answer cards, whereas Lavinia can potentially just be ignored by making the game go on long enough.
That's interesting.
So
I think here what we do is just play your land and cast Dark Ritual. Nope. Please keep those. There's no reason to tap the red lands.
Okay.
All right, so I think we can actually beat Double Force here. So now you can cast Past in Flames off of the Bulk.
Okay.
And if they force this, you can go LED, LED Tutor. If they force that, you can flashback Past in Flames, Ritual, Tutor, get an LED, and then empty. So you can beat
wow,
two
that's
forces
insane.
Here. Because you have a third red source left in your deck with the Mire, or I guess you could also just get the basic Swamp. Cool.
All
right. So let's fetch and cast the Ritual.
Oh yeah, so I should leave this Badlands to fetch or for a red source. I guess it doesn't matter if I just get another Badlands, but
yeah.
Sorry, I'm just pausing to think if is there any way they might have counter magic that they haven't used yet, and if I just like cast this ritual going down to 1 mana left and they counter that, is it a problem?
Well, you could just go LED,
no, because
LED.
I can just LED empty, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's actually free here to just Infernal Tutor to see if they force.
Okay.
No, I mean after the LEDs, I'm sorry. I should be more clear when I talk. Okay, so now you can go down to, oh, you're going to cast that. And then cast Tutor, and then break your LEDs for blue-black. Okay, so now we can cast Brainstorm. I mean, the force is going to resolve.
Yeah.
We're not going to...
I don't have anything, I don't have any counter magic to fight back.
All right,
well,
put back to... we've played our land.
Yeah, so I put back these two with the turn on top.
Yep. Play your Mox. The tutor doesn't have flashback.
Yep, that's what I was just confirming. And now...
empty for 20.
billion. And there's still a Past in Flames in yard, so if this somehow got answered, I could potentially go again with just another ritual or two.
Is this a Supreme Verdict? I hope not.
If it's a supreme verdict, then my opponent has to attack first.
Oh, they're just dead.
Yeah, okay. Deal. They're at 15, so I don't know why they haven't conceded yet. But okay.
Alex McKinley. We cracked our LEDs for blue black because I didn't expect the tutor to resolve. And we weren't going to get ad nauseum regardless, because if you cast ad nauseum, you can't cast empty. So I wanted to be able to cast the brainstorm and possibly look for a discard spell to make sure that, like, with the tutor, we were getting a discard spell no matter how the game was going to go. So it didn't really matter if it got forced or not. All right.
All right.
So I do like the hopes here. I know it's like a little crazy because we saw Baleful Strix and discard, but like I feel like I would keep them, and I'd probably board out 2 copies of Chromox. I just don't feel like this is really a Chromox based matchup, and we have to find 1 card to shave.
Is it just going to be a Ponder again?
No, I like Ponder here. Maybe a Thoughtseize, just so that way we have 1 to Burning Wish for. Like that game would have been a tiny bit easier if we had a burning or a discard spell in the board.
Okay. So as far as matchups go, how is this one?
It's not bad. I'd say my match win percentage against Stoneblade decks is fairly high.
All right.
So if you took Counterbalance out of Miracles, that's what Stoneblade decks are. And like outside of that, they're pretty good. This hand's a little bit clunky. I don't know how I feel about it. It might be fine, but it could end up being bad if we don't draw well.
So if we keep this, the game plan would be similar to last time, right? Where I just kind of like Burning Wish for like empty the Warrens and Past in Flames and try to go that route.
Yep, except now we also have a discard spell in there, so if we need to clear the way for like an empty or something, we could. Phil, your face describes how I feel about this hand as well.
Yeah.
It's like a close one. Like I could see mulling it, but it is technically a fine hand. I wouldn't be upset if we mulled this.
I've kind of been surprised at the ability of this deck to play Magic, and I've kept a lot of opening hands that kind of looked a little sketchy to me, and it's worked out.
I think we should mulligan this one. Let's send it back. Let's get something that's a little bit more playable. Much better.
This looks great.
Boom.
Awesome.
That's why they call you the Dean. We don't give a fuck.
Yeah, that's okay with us.
I don't think they spelled Armadon correctly. Like the card. I don't think it's spelled like that. Am I wrong?
I thought it was Armadon.
All right, you cast your Ponder. I'm gonna do some research.
Okay.
If my mouse decides to wake up.
So we have Mire, Petal, Thoughtseize.
Oh, maybe I'm just an asshole. It looks like it might be spelled right. Yeah, it's spelled right.
All right, well, I've been saying that word wrong. I thought it was Armadon with an A. All right. So I think I like these. I think I like
seems fine.
Casting Thoughtseize next turn. So I think I put
Petal on the bottom.
Yep.
Put Thoughtseize on top, draw the Mire.
Oh, and Romario, I love your emote. I don't know that I've been live on your channel when I could actually tell you that because I've been watching it over like lunch a bunch. But it's cool.
So we have a Petal on top.
Yep.
I don't actually want the Petal. So I think basic Swamp Thoughtseize is probably fine. And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you say they didn't have Wasteland in last game?
The deck list that they played yesterday in the challenge did not contain Wasteland.
Okay.
Opponent is changing it up. Force.
Yeah. We can also start setting up a Past in Flames win with this hand. We already played our land.
So, opponent needs to hit lands off of this Brainstorm, or they are going to be a sad panda. They hit one, but not a fetch.
All right. I think we probably just get Volcanic here and cast Wish.
And this is Past in Flames here, right?
Yeah. Our opponent was also F6. Like, it didn't even pause for that to happen, so they don't have a force at the moment. All right, so now they've drawn through their Brainstorm. I'd probably just Infernal Tutor up another Dark Ritual here. Once again,
yeah,
F6.
they're F6'd. All right, so I probably just got it next turn, right?
Yeah. I would fetch just to make sure we don't draw another land. Arkin, as for the percentages, I know it's like a year or so old, maybe a year and a half at this point, but if you go to the FAQ section and look at the TES versus Ant, oh man, that sucks. All right. Where's a Brainstorm when you need one? There's an article that has the percentages for the differences. Draw Brainstorm, come on.
Hey, I did it. I'm a skilled magician.
I agree.
It's fine to just fire this off here, right?
Yeah.
Rough.
It's fine. Island Past in Flames. We're not getting rid of the Rest in Peace, so. And I'd probably cast the Thoughtseize here, because our opponent's like pretty close to having Jace.
This is decently strong.
Yeah, I would just take the Jace here.
I agree.
And then hopefully we can draw. We're going to fetch and then draw a Tutor or a Wish next turn.
I was about to say I was kind of I was interested that they decided to play Baleful Strix over Stoneforge, but then they had the other land to do both.
I think they drew it, right? Maybe they drew it for turn.
Yeah, they either drew it for turn or off of the Strix. I don't know how much of a gamble that was.
All right, let's make sure we fetch.
Island, Badlands, irrelevant.
Doesn't matter. All right, let's try it again. No.
Ugh. Past in Flames, right. Lowest pedal.
Yep. Sure.
Okay.
All right, let's fetch and draw Business Fell. Come on. We are dead to the Stoneforge, or the Batterskull. on our turn, so. Hey! Alright. Yeah, let's start casting stuff. Our opponent's at 16. So, can we view our sideboard really quick? So the petition's in there, but we can't have spell mastery. Alright,
So I have 5, 8, 11, 14, down to 12 mana.
-5 is 7. Burning Wish Tendrils. We'd have to count more Storm, but we have to get Petition no matter what. So let's do LED Wish Petition.
Okay.
You could tap the island because we're not going to be using blue mana at any point.
And then any difference between tapping these
I'd leave
for red?
the Vulcan tap just in case we have to add Nauseam. I don't think we will, but just in case. And then add red-black with LEDs. I think it should be a clean kill.
So what do I want to leave floating here? Just
You can just spend it all on black, it's fine. And then 7, 8 being, yep, Burning Wish Tendrils. And I believe we went 0-4 into 4-4. That's respectable, at least. Are they going to fetch and cast Zealous?
I would respect that. Woo!
That's pretty cool.
That's what we wanted to do.
4-1 is not bad.
That's what the people came here to see. Yeah, 4-1 is a great league. All right. So I know you wanted to try out some things with this this deck list. You know, the Massacre is new back in. You know,
we didn't really get to see it, but you know, it is what it is.
Having it around as a safety net could have been nice if our opponent was on like a Thalia-based draw on some of those matchups, though.
I agree. Did you have any real thoughts on the 2 empties main deck? No, 4 empties is never too many, Brandon.
I don't hate it. I think there were definitely some times where having access to just a naturally drawn Empty the Warrens was definitely important. You know, I have 8 matches under my belt here with the deck list, and I'm not an experienced pilot otherwise. But I think the second empty in the main deck is not unreasonable.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. The only other slot that I would even consider over at the moment is the Chain of Vapor. So
the Chain of Vapor seems more suspect than the Empty the Warrens to me, but I understand what it can do.
Yeah. So for those of you that are unaware, you can generate mana and Storm with Chain of Vapor. So you generate Storm by sacrificing your own lands and bouncing all of your own artifacts after playing them. So let's say your hand is like 2 Lotus Petals, an LED, and a Chrome Mox. You play all 4. You play Chain of Vapor, you sack 3 lands, you replay them. And now your Burning Wish, instead of being an Empty the Warrens, is now a lethal Tendrils of Agony. You can also generate mana post ad nauseum by playing your Chrome Moxes, tapping them for mana with imprinted cards that you no longer need, bouncing them all with the same way that you did the other way by sacrificing your own lands, replay them, tap them for mana, and now you used 1 mana to generate 6 or something along those lines.
Yeah, so that sort of Chain of Vapor stuff has gotten me a couple of times as like a D&T player where I'm like, all right, I feel pretty confident that they can't win, And Chain of Vapor does do some really weird things, but you really need to know what you're doing in order to utilize that card well.
Yeah. That said, I do think the second empty is probably a little bit better. Yeah, I try out a lot of cards. Like people, I'm sure it's a very similar thing with you, Phil, where they always want your latest deck list, but like I try out random stuff all the time, and it's not always good either. Like the Wipeaways I was testing for a solid month, I ended up hating them by the time I was done. So
I mean, if we just kind of look at my shameful collection of white cards, I own Thraben Inspectors from playing them in Legacy, folks.
well, you are Thraben University.
Yeah, I gotta have some inspectors. They gotta look at my tax records.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
Oh. All right. Well, Bryant, do you have any closing thoughts on the deck list here? Like, seems good.
No. Yeah, it seems fine. But I do have a closing thought on. You should go check out theepicstorm.com/shop. You should go there. Buy Black Belcher sticker. I don't know. Buy tokens.
The tokens are really sweet. I know I said that already, but truly they
Thank
are.
you.
And more generally, if you are looking for like legacy strategy articles, even if you're not an Epic Storm pilot, like there is a lot of great quality content where you can hear about matchups from different pilots as well. What do you call your sort of interview series where you go and talk to a specific pilot about the matchup? What do you call those?
Through the Looking Glass.
Yeah, your Through the Looking Glass articles are really stellar.
Anthony Laverde is currently doing them. They're really good. There's also the matchup battles by Alex Poling, where he brings you as the TES player. It's not the other way around. So Through the Looking Glass is always from, let's say, Phil's perspective on Death and Taxes, or we have Julian Knob. We have JPA with Sneak and Show. So we have a number of very good pilots playing their signature decks, saying how they look to combat Storm. But then we have two that are from the TS perspective in TS matchup battles by Alex Poling, and I do matchup mulligans. So,
yeah. And one other thing that I do want to plug on his behalf is that Bryant does tutoring sessions. So if you are a Storm player, if you're into the Epic Storm and you want to get better, he will teach you. And as you can probably see, he knows his stuff, and he caught a number of my mistakes, and I learned a lot tonight, and I hope you all did as well.
Yeah, Alex and Anthony are both great. Both Alexes are very good. I only hire the best, plus Josh. I don't know if Josh is still listening. I know that you also know Josh from his D&T days.
Oh, yes. All right, well, I think I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm going to host XJ Cloud, who is probably going to be playing some Legacy Death and Taxes. All right, you have any last things you want to say to the chat? Insult, jokes, whatever?
Over the next few days, I will be posting my Pimp deck update for the year. I always try to post it right around the holidays, so keep a lookout for that. I've already scanned all of TES. I'm almost done with Modern Storm, and Godo EDH is on its way, so it should be up in a day or two. Keep an eye out. It's one of my favorite things to put on the site each year. It brings me a lot of joy. Feel free to troll my cards. Do whatever you want. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for everything tonight, and I'll probably look forward to working with you again sometime in the future. Chat,
sounds great.
Take care, and I'm going to send you over to some Legacy content. I will be back on Wednesday with some Angel Stompy. Yes, really, Angel Stompy. Good night.
Hey, Phil.
Yep.
Guess what my favorite creature is?
Is it Thalia, Guardian of Thraben?
Exalted Angel.
That is a classic pick. Mine is Vampire Nighthawk.
It's not a bad one.
It was the first Magic card that I ever bought as a single. And when I bought it, I thought it was just like the most busted thing in the world. Slotted it into like a mono black starter deck that I bought. Felt invincible.
So people may not know this about me, but when I was growing up, I exclusively played control decks, and the first one I had a lot of success with was called Angel Control. I played Exalted Angels and Skeletal Scrying, so you would end up drawing a lot of cards and just burying your opponent based on that card advantage. But Legacy was a lot slower back then. Like, Magic's very fast now, and like those kind of strategies can't exist. But for its time, it was very, very good.
I do miss some of the slower days of Legacy. Like, I miss Mangaraing people to death. That was glorious. That was really fun for me. But just me.
All right, we should probably actually end your stream.
Yep.
I don't know.
All right, enough tangents. Good night, folks.